Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting for January the 3rd, 2022. And it is customary for our board to begin each one of our sessions with a prayer by a sitting commissioner, and then we enjoy doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And during the time of the prayer, you're welcome to stand and join the commissioner in the prayer. You're welcome to use this time as your own prayer, or you're welcome to use this time as a moment of silence for whatever reason you may have on your mind this morning. And at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Dan Combs for the invocation, and then Commissioner Wayne Outlaw for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Combs, stand.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for the rain you're sending, Lord. You know we need it so bad to replenish our dry earth, Lord, and you know what we need and you know when we need it. So, Lord, we just thank you for everything you provide for us each and every day. Lord, we just pray for everybody here, Lord. We pray for this board this morning that everything we do and say will be for the betterment of Nash County, Lord, and the things that are pleasing in your sight, Lord. And we just pray that you will be with us during this entire meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would you join us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. At this time, we're on item number 4, which is approval of the minutes for the previous month. And we did have just one meeting in December, which was December the 6th, and you have those minutes in your packet. I would entertain a motion for any corrections, any additions, or approval as submitted when you see fit. Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let us be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Minutes stand approved, Madam Clerk. We thank you as always for your great work. 2 points of order this morning prior to getting started, since we have a pretty large crowd. First of all, this is the beginning of a new year, and it is also the beginning of a new term for our new county commissioner. Excuse me, our county manager. We don't have a new county commissioner. And want to welcome Stacey Satzler as our manager this morning. She took her role on December the 15th. Mr. Lamb, of course, is still with us through the month of January, and but it will be a new day for Nash County having a different manager, and I hope you'll have her in your thoughts and prayers as she moves forward, as the board will have. It's a daunting task at times to keep us 7 people happy. I'll admit that up front, but she's up for the challenge. I'm sure she'll do it. The other point of order I'd like to point out again is, as we all know, we're still dealing with COVID. It changes its name, but it's still there. And we have quite a few people here today, and I'm expecting some to wish to speak. Between each speaker, we would like to have a brief pause to have the podium cleaned. And I do not see Megan. Or Megan, are you in here? Okay.
Yes, we got a
substitute this morning. Have you been properly trained, sir? Yes, sir. Okay, great. That's good. But if you'll just pause between each speaker, we would like to do that.
Chairman, I was just going to say, this is Matt Collier, if you have not met Matt before.
I have met Matt.
Okay.
I know Matt very well.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
He is the friendliest person in the building, I have found, and great to have him on board.
Thanks.
But moving along, item number 5 will be a item for public comment, and during this period, if there's someone in the room that wishes to speak to the board about any item you have on your mind that is not otherwise covered on the agenda, more particularly in a public hearing, which will come up later, it is a time which you can come up and let the board know anything or any troubles or any compliments we will take also. but we didn't have anyone to sign up. We do have a sign-up period out front before the meeting, but this board is extremely interested in what our citizens have to say, and if you happen to miss that part of it and still have something on your mind, we invite you to come up at this time, state your name and address for the record. Anyone got anything on the mind other than what's covered on the agenda? Seeing no one, we will move on to item number 6. Item number 6 is a Eagle Scout request for a project that they wish to do. It's a Parker Charade. And is Parker with us this morning? Yes, sir. All right. And Parker, if you have any family member with you, which I do see you have one, if you have anyone else that wishes to join you, please have them come up.
His mama ain't gonna come up here. Well, I guess it.
His mama is going to come up here. Good to see you, sir. I think you come out to the house occasionally, do you not?
Sir.
Glad to have you out there in time. Please proceed, sir, and it's your show, and don't feel uneasy at all. We're all here to hear what you got to say.
Yes, sir. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Parker Sherrod. I'm 15 years old, a sophomore at Rocky Mount Academy, and I'm currently in Boy Scout Troop 76 out of Nashville. My parents and I have came to you today for your approval regarding my Eagle Scout project that I would love to complete. My proposal has already been approved by the Fraternal Order of Police, Rocky Mount Lodge. My idea is to add the 5 names missing from the fallen officers memorial right outside of the courthouse. This project means a lot to me, being a part of the law enforcement family, so I did not think twice about requesting this. 5 names missing from the memorial, from oldest to newest, are Chief James Stallings of the Spring Hope Police Department, whose law enforcement journey ended September 21st, 1910, after succumbing to a fatal shotgun wound. Richmond Powell of the Princeville Police Department, whose journey ended August 21st, 1923, due to a fatal stab wound. David LaShawn Manning of the Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office, whose journey ended March 11th, 2018, due to a motor vehicle accident. His family is here today, and I would like for them to stand up. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next, Christopher James Driver of the Rocky Mount Police Department, whose journey ended June 23rd of 2018 due to a motor vehicle accident. His family is here, and I would also like for them to stand. Lastly, Jared Michael Allison of the Nash County Sheriff's Office, whose journey ended December 1st, 2021 after a motor vehicle accident as well. I would like for his family to stand up. With your approval today, I have one more step before I can begin this project, which is present my project to the Eagle Scout Board. If it is approved there, I will begin fundraising and hopefully begin on my project. I think he wants to say some words.
When we first come up with this project, we wanted to make sure that we had all the local members to back Parker in this project. We asked Nash County Clerk of Court Linda Thorne. I'm not sure if she walked over yet. She's all behind this project. We got the Fraternal Order of the Police, if they would. I think Greg Brown's here representing them. We also asked Superior Court Judge Quentin Sumner. He would love to be here this morning, but he's got court in Vance County. We also got permission from Nash County Sheriff Keith Stone, who has had a prior engagement. We also asked Sheriff Clay Axon. I believe he's here this morning. Sheriff, you would stand up.
Welcome, Sheriff.
We also asked Rocky Mount Chief of Police Robert Hassel. I think they have a chief's meeting this morning. I don't think he made it. We also got Parker School involved, so we asked the headmaster, Miss Beth Kovalo, who's seated right here. We also asked his upper school head, which is Mr. Timmy Tucker. I believe he's here. He's back in the back. And we just wanted to make sure that all the families of these 3 latest police officers and deputies were recognized, and you noticed their families. We also wanted to thank the members of the Nash County Sheriff's Office, the men and women that serve, along with the Edgecombe County men and women, and also from the Rocky Mount Police Department. They all behind Parker in this project as well. And there's one more person that, that's the, that means a lot to Parker, and we had to make sure he was here today, and if anything ever happens to me or his mom, this gentleman's got to step up and take his place. And this person is the former U.S. Marshal for the North Carolina Eastern District. He's also the Deputy Commissioner for the North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicle. And more importantly, he's one of the two men that Parker's named after, and that's Scotty Parker. So as Parker mentioned, we are just asking for the board's approval to go move forward with this project so he can ask his Eagle Scout since it's on county property. And at this time, we open it to any comments or questions you may have for us.
Any board member have any question for Parker? Looks like you did a great job, Parker. I am going to ask you to introduce your mother and father, if you would.
This is my mother, Tracy Sherrod,
Tracy Sherrod, okay.
and this is my father, Jeff Sherrod.
Okay. Some of us know Jeff, or most of us do, but there may be some in the audience that do not. But how many years you been in the Scouts, Parker?
Ever since 6th grade, so 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yes,
So
sir.
you've moved pretty quickly on your Eagle project then.
Yes, sir.
A lot quicker than some of us did, quite frankly. But that's a testament to you. I bet you got somebody pushing you sometimes too, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to approve or deny, hopefully approve this request.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I think I have 6 motions to approve, Madam Clerk. And I'd like to get, well, you got 7, because I certainly approve it also. Then I'd like to get 7 seconds as well. Okay. We have 7 motions and 7 seconds. I guess we still need to vote, Mr. Attorney. So all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and you leave here with the distinct honor of having the first 7 motion approval since I've been on the board, which is now almost 20 years. So congratulations to you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
I would also remind the people in the audience that we do have a mask mandate in our entire building, particularly when you're up moving around and getting close to other people. I do have mine removed because my dear beloved wife tells me if I don't take it off, I mumble already and you wouldn't be able to hear anything I say. So sitting here with the distancing like I have, I do choose to take it off because I've tried to listen to the recording with me having it on and it doesn't work too well. But with that said, we will move on to item number 7, which is another very exciting time for the county each year, and it's a time when we recognize our long-term employees, and believe me, we have some really long-term ones over here. And at this time, I'd call on our Human Resource Director, Allison Kirkland, to make this presentation, sir. And I'm not sure how we are doing it. We'd normally have some in. If you'd explain what we had to do to stay in COVID guidelines this morning, I hope we have able to have some here, but if we don't, I certainly understand it.
Right. We did send out an invitation, but I'm not sure exactly how many are here. but
Okay.
We'll see. Good morning. As y'all are aware, each year, Nash County acknowledges employees who have completed 5 or more years of service to the county. The department heads distribute the service pins to employees who have completed 5, 10, or 15 years. And then at the regular commissioners meeting in January of each year, the board gives special recognition to those employees with 20 or more years of service to Nash County by presenting a pin and certificate to those employees. At this time, we'd like to make that presentation. And I don't know if you'd like to come down, Chairman Davis, and help assist, or
You tell me, this is your show, sir. You tell me what you'd like to have done.
we'd love for you to come down and help assist. And maybe
You
Z.
better go then.
You want to stand up here with
You
me?
better go.
Nah, you go ahead.
How to orchestrate this. Where we- Okay. 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 Okay, first of all, for 20 years of service, we have Kelly Bailey with the Health Department, and she may not be here today. Jason Bryant with the Sheriff's Department. And this is special, Allison Kirkland. This one's special to me, it's mine, Allison Kirkland. Okay. Susan Mills, Social Services. She's not here. Eddie Moore, Sheriff's Department. Willie Morris, Environmental Health. Not here. Jeff Wilkins, Sheriff's Department. Okay, now moving into the 25-year category, we have Janice Evans. Amy. We do, don't we? Right. Amy Hamlet, Social Services. Sakita Lindsay, Social Services. She's not here. Okay. Gail McClellan, Tax Department, and she's not able to be with us today. Okay. Kenneth Morris from Soil and Water. Not here. Okay. Mark Revis from Emergency Communications. And Bobby Stallings from the Health Department. Next is the category of 30 years. We have Scott Rogers, EMS. Okay, all right. And then we have one in the 35-year category, and that's Bill Newton from the Tax Department. And we did have a couple of employees who retired during the year that we invited. I don't know that any of those came today because of the weather, but we have Lori Taylor from the Health Department who had 20 years, and Tanya Berwick from the Health Department who had 30 years, and Jason Spruill from EMS had 20 years as well. So let's give all these employees a round of applause.
Ben is the number man that I find myself being on about every subject matter. I did take the list, as I probably do every year. I don't remember from year to year just to see. But if you take the employees, which was a total of 79 names that had from 5 to 35 years employment with Nash County, and add up those years, it equaled this year 1,005 years. That's a lot of years and a lot of faithful employees, and on behalf of the board, I want to thank each one of them that reached a milestone and each one of them that are here today, and quite frankly, all of them, because this board has always thought we had great employees from top to bottom, and it really and truly makes this board's job a whole lot easier, because we have certainly some complaints from time to time, but it could be a tremendously lot worse than what it is, which is a testament to every employee we have. Quite frankly, I do, on behalf of the board, thank every one of you for what you do for Nash County. And I would like for the board to give all the employees a hand if we could. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Belfield.
that's been a good trend. I've noticed this. I've been here 55 years. And I noticed how employees stick with Nash County. So we must have good government here. And the people like living in this area. A lot of them are native of the area.
Right.
But I have noticed this ever since I've been here.
You say 55 years?
Yes,
So
sir.
that was your work time as well?
Work time as
Okay,
well.
I got you, okay.
Worked 36 working, and I'm in my 24th year on the Board of Commissioners.
Right,
And I had 1 year in between.
got you, okay. You didn't never go home then, did you? Right. Any other commissioner have anything they'd like to say? Thank you, Mr. Belfield. All right, that was item number 7. We'll move on and begin our public hearings at this time, which is, we have several of those this morning, and I hope we can move through them fairly quickly, but we are here to hear what the citizens wish to say. And item number 8 is a second public hearing on conditional use rezoning CZ 21-1102 for Senior Phase 2 subdivision. I call on Adam Tyson at this time to inform the board where we are and where we have been on this item.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
As the chairman noted, this is an item that a public hearing was held at the December 6th regular meeting of the board. At that time, the board voted to table the item. As you can see on the screen, this is a 38.73 acre tract of land outlined in red on both maps. You have the aerial photo on the left and the zoning map on the right. It's located on the south side of Bullhead Road, east of the town of Bailey. Inside the subject property, you'll see that the majority has previously been zoned to RA20 conditional, and this request is to add the additional 9 acres or so directly along Bullhead Road in the northern portion to that zoning district, and then to reconfigure some of the design of the previously approved subdivision for the southern part of that property. If you look to the south of the property, there are 2 subdivisions that have already been previously approved. Of course, this is the bottom part of the subject property was part of those. You have the old Smithfield Road subdivision in this tract of land on the left-hand side. That was approved in April of 2021. And then immediately adjacent to the east is Seamster Phase 1 subdivision. That was approved in September 2021. The southern boundary of the subject property is defined by the Beaver Dam Creek, which of course is subject to riparian stream buffers to protect it from disturbance, and any crossing of that creek area would require permitting by the state. This rezoning request proposed 49 new lots, a reconfiguration of 25 lots that were south of this line, and then an additional 20 lots in the whole area. The new rezoning district, of course, would allow higher density by reducing the lot size from 40,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. There are 9 land uses, including double-wide manufactured homes that are permitted now on that green portion of the top part of the property that would no longer be permitted if the rezoning request were approved. And a subject property, because this is a conditional rezoning, would have to be developed in accordance with the sketch plan that would be approved today if the board chooses to approve the request. This is the original sketch plan that was submitted. The lots, as you can see, would be located along a network of 4 new interior public roads. They provide 1 stub road connection to the west and, 2 stub road connections to the west on the old plan here and down here, and 2 stub road connections to the east here and here. None of the lots are proposed to be accessed directly from Bullhead Road, and all these lots have to be at least 20,000 square feet in area and 100 foot wide along the road. And the developer would be required to construct new water lines within the interior of the subdivision to connect each of these lots to our existing county water system. As stated, the board previously held and closed a public hearing on December 6th and voted to table the request for a second public hearing to be held today. Specifically, the motion included instructions for the applicant to, quote, provide additional information regarding the impact of the proposed new road and water line extension to the Beaver Dam Creek and its related wetlands. So what we're looking at now is the old sketch. There are a handful of changes between this sketch and a new revised sketch that has been submitted for your consideration today. The first change is that the road connection that crosses the Beaver Dam Creek shown here has been removed. The second is that the stub road right here that would have provided a connection to the adjacent property to the west has been removed, along with these 4 lots in this area. That is to prevent disturbance beyond or across and beyond the riparian buffer that protects this stream feature right here. And of course, the Beaver Dam Creek right there. That reduction of lots reduces this from previously being 49 proposed new residential lots down to 45. And the water line connection that previously crossed the stream with the road is now proposed to be bored underneath the stream and its riparian buffer to reduce, if not prevent, the impact to the actually environmentally sensitive area. I do want to point out, well, let's look at that right now. So again, this is the new plan. The 4 lots and the stub road connection here have been removed in order to not cross or disturb this riparian buffer. You'll note that the road now ends in a cul-de-sac north of the stream. It no longer proposes a crossing. And the water line follows a utility easement right here that again would be bored underneath the stream and connect that way. The the land development plan, as you can see, designates the entire area as suburban growth area. The request is consistent with the recommendations of the plan because of the property's access to Nash County Public Water Service. The TRC considered it to be reasonable and in the public interest because it is not spot zoning. Obviously, it's an extension of the zoning district that is already present on the southern portion of the property. The subject property already is and will continue to be zoned for residential use, and approval of the request will permit smaller lot sizes, but is slightly more restrictive in terms of the land uses that would be permitted. The Technical Review Committee considered this back on November 3rd. I'll remind you that was the old sketch plan, not the new revised sketch plan, but did recommend approval. The Planning Board also considered it, the old sketch plan, on November 15th, and with a split vote of 6-2, recommended approval. And so today we will hold a second public hearing, this time on the revised portion of the plan. Stocks Engineering is present with us this morning to participate in the public hearing. And with that, I will pause and take any questions that the board has. I will note there is a motion to approve and a motion to deny. And in the motion to approve, there are 4 proposed development conditions that the staff would ask the board consider attaching to that motion. And so are there any questions on the staff report?
Any questions from a commissioner at this point? Adam, it seems like in your summary, what you got out of the board's request from before were basically 2 things: that the road be looked at real hard about crossing the area of the wetlands and riparian stream, and then as well as the water line. And they have come back with both of those items, it appears like. Is that what we're looking at?
That is the revised map that no longer has a road crossing the stream and the water line is to be bored underneath it. I do want to note for the board that the previously approved site plan did for the old Smithfield subdivision, which was for the property to the south, and then for the majority of this property, did include the stream crossing. So the applicant currently has permission from the board to cross the stream and would retain that permission unless the board approves this site plan today, which of course would retract that permission, and this plan would replace the old one. And so a denial today would allow the developer to revert back to the previously proposed plan, which does include the road crossing.
Well, you actually just answered my second question I was leading up to. That's where I thought we were. And in the process, we lost 4 lots, is what you're saying?
Correct. Right here in this white area, which becomes part of a non-buildable lot for environmental protection purposes. There was 4 lots here as well as a stub road connection to the west, but to get there, it would involve crossing and impacting this riparian buffer, and so that was removed from the plan.
And what happened to all of that area?
It would typically be under the ownership of the developer, or if there will be a homeowners association, it could be placed under there. Of course, this is not a cluster subdivision, so this is not common area that is required to be accessible to the residents. But I think probably the applicant can expound on that a little more during the public hearing as far as the plans for that property.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into our second public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing on this matter, and the way I'd like to conduct this public hearing, if you're here today and you wish to speak for or against it, but haven't spoke on this matter before, if you would come forward and state your name and address for the record, I'd like to get those that have not had a chance to speak first, and then I'll drop back with some guidelines on other speakers. But is anyone here that wishes to speak for the first time on this subject matter? Seeing no one, I will move to my second thought, which is if there are people here that spoke during the first public hearing and you have something new that you would like to say, I'd like for you to come forward either for or against the items that were said last time. The board certainly took those in very well. We have reviewed our minutes, and I think most of us go back and look at our films pretty regular. So if there are any new points that you wish to bring forward under this public hearing, I don't see a need to replay what we've already covered. So if you would come forward at this time and state your name and address again for the record and bring forth any new points that you may have. Anyone wish to do that? Thank you, Matt. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michael Simonoff of 9894 Paul's Lane. I'm immediate to the northeast of the property. I do appreciate y'all opening this back up and the time that you have taken to consider the previous deal, so I will not speak on behalf of that, other than I would like to encourage the commissioners, and I know you are trying your best on that too. Let's make sure we're being proactive with all of the subdivisions and development going on, and the needs that are going to be required to that, not reactive. I do agree that it is nice to now see that the Beaver Dam will not be affected in the manner that it would be before. The new points I have is mainly why do we not have a second proposal of what would this development look like if it stayed under R40 for the front 9-point-some acres? Why do we not have an option instead of simply going, well, if you don't approve this, then we're just going to automatically revert to the old map? I just don't understand why we don't have that issue. And my concern with that is these homes, the 5 homes on the right-hand side as you're looking at the map facing the road, will not be facing the road. You will be looking at the immediate backyard of these homes. And I understand that according to DOT recommendations and preferences that we want to limit the amount of driveway access to major roads. But again, that is to limit, not eliminate. And my thought on this, and I have no engineering degree and I did not take drafting to draw anything up, but if we were to keep the front 9, 10 acres R40, could we not eliminate the 5 homes at the roadside there on the right-hand side and probably reduce them down to maybe 3 and have those roads actually face the road, or have those homes face the road, have a driveway there so it looks a little bit more appealing? The yards are a little bit larger right there in the opening. And then, as already stated, the developer could easily go back in and do the R20 for all of those remaining homes. So again, I'm just curious on why we don't get two proposals on seeing what is going on with that. And again, I would just, encourage the board to keep doing what you're doing, and just remember, let's try to be proactive and not reactive on all of the developments coming in, because we are going to have several needs from all of this.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Other speakers with new thoughts on this? I'm going to address the lady coming up to the right-hand side first. She was moving, and then, sir, I'll catch you next. Come on up, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Sharon Eatman, 10654 Pace Road in Bailey. First of all, I'd like to turn to Edward and Ned and say thank y'all for what you're doing about crossing the Beaver Dam. That is wonderful news to us that live in the area. I do come to you again and ask you to please consider making these lots the R40, or at least R30 rather than the 20, due to the influx of development in our area that is causing or will cause severe problems for that area, along with the sheriff's department, the rescue squads, the schools, the water. The water is a big deal, not only taking up the farmland. I really wish y'all would think about this on some of these developments coming to our area. We're going to have developments, that's understood, but at least you could do them with the R40s. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eaton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Wilbur Pace, and I live at 4210 Bullhead Road, which is directly across Bullhead Road from the proposed development. My family has owned our land for well over 100 years. We've come here as members of our community to voice our opposition at every one of these meetings since we've been made aware of this proposed development. At prior meetings, we've made several points supporting our opposition, including lack of notice awareness within the community, lack of infrastructure to support a project of this size, including roads, schools, water supply, et cetera, detriment to the environment, specifically impact to the environmentally sensitive wetlands of Beaver Dam Creek. We've made these points and others, and we'll just have to hope that the board will give them equitable consideration as you weigh your decision in this matter. And as you weigh your decision, I would also ask that you keep in mind that development, particularly on this large scale, should always be a balance of give and take. There should be reasonable compromise to accommodate both the developer and the community which the development will affect. So let's be clear about what we're talking about, and I appreciate the breakdown that was provided earlier. While this proposal is regarding 38 acres, we're primarily talking about the 10 acres fronting Bullhead Road that are still zoned R40. This is part of a much larger development. To my knowledge, it's well over 100 houses. The zoning change that we're talking about today is in a portion that fronts Bullhead Road, and from what I could tell from the plan, it currently shows about 9 full lots and about 6 partial lots, roughly half lots that are in that 10-acre portion. So roughly call it 12 full lots of the 45 within the 38-acre parcel. So I'm no expert on this stuff, but just back of the envelope, if these 10 acres on Bullhead Road were to remain R40, the developer should still be able to get about, I would say, at least 7 houses within that 10-acre portion, taking into account roads, setbacks, other infrastructure. So the way I'm looking at this, we're really talking about a reduction of perhaps 5 houses overall. And remember, this is in a development that's well over 100 houses. The board has already provided this developer zoning changes to R20 for the other parcels, which was stated earlier. So I don't know what the final count is, but again, well over 100, and I do appreciate the concessions the developer has made. I don't want to overlook that. But the way I see it, we're literally talking about perhaps 5 houses being reduced in that 10-acre section. We're not asking to stop growth. We're not asking to stop development. We realize that development is coming whether we like it or not. We are simply asking you to impose some level of compromise. We're asking you to afford at least some level of consideration to the community. There's nothing that says your default decision has to be granting R20 zoning changes to allow developers the maximum density at every request. Again, we've come to every one of these meetings voicing our opposition on behalf of the community. We're not asking for much. We're simply asking to keep these remaining 9 or 10 acres as R40. We're getting a massive development right next door, either way. Maintaining R40 on this remaining 10-acre parcel on Bullhead Road will provide at least some semblance of a buffer between our homes and this massive new development. It's an extremely small concession at this point to make to the community, and the right thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Next speaker has new thoughts on this.
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, sir.
Timmy Bailey. I live at 4373 Bullhead Road. Could I get that map? Well, I guess I need. Yeah, I appreciate them, removing these lots. But you also still have these 4 right here. What do you do when you got the house right here, then you got a ditch right in the very backyard? And then you also got property on this side of the ditch. How about the trash that's gonna come out of the yards and go into the ditch, I guess, over into the Beaver Dam Creek? What happens to this property here in the very back? This is no different really than what was going on right here before they removed them. And also I don't like the way they got the houses at the road with the back doors facing the road. Can y'all show me anywhere else in Nash County that's got the houses, actually are backwards what they are? Who wants to look at that? The main thing is the developers bought the land as R40. If they weren't satisfied with it when they were making a deal to buy it, if they weren't satisfied with the R40, why did they buy it? Now they're buying it, trying to change it over to the R20. I know they're trying to double, triple their money or whatever, but once they get their money, the people in the residence or the community, the neighborhood, whatever you want to call it, we're the ones that's got to look at that every day. I don't know if either one of you guys ride down Bullhead Road every day and see what we're going to be seeing. I know the developers are not going to be going down the road once they get their money and they're gone. And my understanding is once converted to a R20, it's up for sale. These developers has got it up for sale, my understanding. They haven't got it up for sale now, but it's gonna be up for sale the same way it is on the Seamster track over here. They bought that as R40. They weren't satisfied with it. They changed it to R20, and now it's up for sale, $700,000. They probably tripling their money right now. I mean, we just don't want the R20, we want the R40. They can come up with a map to get the R40. And then I think they should also do something about this that's on the map, the way they got the lots with it actually looks like to me the back door of the house, when it's built, when you walk out, you're gonna jump right in the ditch, which is okay to me. If they want to fall in the ditch, let them fall in the ditch. I just don't want them to get washed down in the Beaver Dam Creek, and I don't want the trash in the Beaver Dam Creek. And another thing, I mean, as far as the law enforcement, I mean, has anybody approved any more funding for the law enforcement? Because I was hearing that the average response time to our community is about 12 to 15 minutes. That ain't good enough for us. We need, with all these houses being built, we need a faster response time. Other than that, that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. All right, we have someone else that wishes to speak with new ideas on this subject matter. Anyone with the developer wish to comment at this time, or the developer? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kevin Varnell, Stocks Engineering, here representing the developer and the owners of the property. Obviously, you have before you a new map today based on the comments and concerns that were expressed at the last meeting. And obviously, it's been discussed that we've shortened up the street, not crossing the creek at this point. Again, still providing the water connection that the commissioners have asked for. And the area that we were talking about, I guess, before, the little triangle that's left at the this little area here where the street was cut out will be part of the stormwater lot. So it'll be owned by the homeowners association as common area. And again, it's really just a piece of property that's across the creek from any of the development. So we'll let the homeowners association own that. And again, the lots at the road front, I think we've gone through several meetings where the desire was not to have road front lots onto streets based upon DOT's request and some of the recent stuff done by the planning board and commissioners. So that's why the lots are turned internal to the subdivision. It's just based on, that's, I guess, the current way we want to handle traffic throughout the county. So I'll be happy to answer any further questions you have regarding the new plan.
Any questions of the designer or representing the developer this morning from a commissioner?
Yes, ma'am.
Along the road front on Bullhead Road, where it would be the backside of those 5 houses, is there any kind of vegetative buffer? It doesn't look like on the map, any kind of physical or vegetative buffer?
Right now, it's not. Now, if you request that, it certainly can be added to the map as part of a condition. But right now, we don't show anything like that on the back of those lots.
Thank you.
I need to ask you a question, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
So what happens if we don't rezone this 9 acres of land? What would a developer do at that point?
Well, currently, the plan that the commissioners have approved was the original plan that you saw that has the road that comes in across the creek that comes in. And that's the plan that we would have to follow because that's the plan that has been approved. So unless the plan is redone and changed, which is what we're proposing now, then we have no choice but to develop it based on the plan that has been approved. So ultimately, what would happen is the street would come in just like we had talked about from the south side of the creek. It would have to come in and we would develop it that way. And then again, we still could come in just like we discussed and develop these road front lots here with R40, but with no road access, we would be almost forced to do road front lots at that point across the road front. But that's the way the current plan is approved and the one that we have. And we're hoping that this plan is a better plan environmentally for not crossing the creek, still gives the water access, and we believe it still gives, I guess, all the things the developer is willing to do, and I think what we had talked about last month.
Other questions of Mr. Varnell? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If there's no one else wishing to speak on this item, I'd entertain a motion to, I think I have one more wishes to speak. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Cindy Childress, 4008 and/or 16 Bullhead Road. I did not receive anything before on this matter, before I came to the last two times, and I guess I was a bit lost in the fact that of not knowing how all these people were going to get in and out of this subdivision, which I know was discussed last meeting, 10 per household, I believe, trafficking out onto the road. And so one, access has been alleviated, which is a good thing, not coming through that creek for environmental purposes. But that, in turn, has thrown every bit of these 10 per household, over 100 houses, onto Bullhead Road. Is that correct?
Ma'am, what you're speaking of is what DOT allows per household when it calculates how it affects the traffic on a given existing SR number road.
That is correct. So 450 plus whatever's going just on the Bullhead Road, because that's the only access to this development. That's it.
That's the only access as shown here on that side of the creek, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
At the present time. Now, it may be others as the area continues to develop because they have stub streets going on through the adjoining property. But that would be something to be looked at in the future.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I just want to try to get in my brain here, that we only have one access to this total community of people going out onto whatever this back road is listed as. I don't know, it's pretty narrow. So that's a whole lot of traffic on that road. But you said that was covered. I know that was a 10 per household.
Yes, ma'am.
That they come up with. Okay. And I understand about the creek, and whoever was involved with that, I'm glad you stepped up to the plate and did what you needed to do. But it really does concern me in the fact of that small road that we live on is going to need a whole lot of work for this number of houses going in. Thank you.
Sir, I'm reluctant to start that process of, quite frankly, have you got something completely new that we haven't heard? Come on up. And if you could. Well, unfortunately, we got a very long agenda behind this one, but we try our best to hear what citizens got to say.
I need to state my name again.
No, I think we got your name, sir. And I just asked you to be kind with your remarks.
Be kind.
If you can, yes, sir.
Oh, I'm a kind person.
Okay, thank you.
As far as they said, if this plan don't pass, they go back to the other plan, but the other plan, when it was crossing the Beaver Dam Creek, it never got approved no way, correct?
It did.
It did get approved?
Yes, sir. The zoning got approved for that one, yes, sir.
How does something like that get approved before there's ever been any engineering or like as far as the Beaver Dam Creek? I mean.
I'm going to let our department head answer that question rather than me going on a 69-year-old memory, if that's okay with you. Mr. Tyson, you want to address that question, and we don't normally get into a question-answer session in a public hearing. It's your time to tell the board what you say, but I'm going to be as courteous as I can, and I think your answer is going to be, his answer will be pretty short. Mr. Tyson, if you want to answer that, and if you could step back and Matt, do your thing.
If we could switch to the document camera. To try to alleviate some confusion, Mr. Bailey's correct in that the plan that was proposed last month has never been approved. And that's what we're looking at here. It includes the crossing, it includes the stub street and the 4 lots in the triangle that have been eliminated. But what was approved earlier in 2021 was the plan for Old Smithfield Road subdivision.
And that's what I was
so
addressing.
if you'll see the stream right here, the 10 acres at Bullhead Road that we're talking about adding is right here. But previously, the developer did not own that, and so the road had a cul-de-sac that ended before you got to the 10 acres, and it approved the crossing of the stream. And so this is the plan that the developer would revert back to, and then he could still, if the request today is denied, and he could still develop the 10 acres at the road under R40 without a rezoning. To address Mr. Bailey's question about how could it be approved without the engineering being done, what we're doing is a zoning approval. And before anything could cross that stream, it will require a myriad of environmental approvals from the state level government that is not within the jurisdiction of the county. And so it's typical for the developer to get a zoning approval prior to the actual environmental approvals that will be required.
That answer your question, Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Okay.
A couple more things.
Thank you, Adam. Hold on one second, Matt. Mr. Bailey, the approach that this board has taken of late, which is about the last 18 months, is we've been asking for a conditional use rezoning, which shows us a proposed layout. And that's what the board was addressing when we said we had approved a layout that showed a street going across the stream in an earlier version of this.
Yeah.
Now, none of it, even what you see here, has been engineered yet because they don't spend those funds until the rezoning is taken care of. It's a step process.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand, but as far as the part, whenever they did it, I'm not talking about what's R40 right now by the road, but the part that crosses the creek.
Yes, sir.
On my side, you know, we never received no rezoning request or whatever the letter is you get in the mail. There was never a sign put up on Bullhead Road for that side of the Beaver Dam Creek. There was never nothing. I mean, you can ask all my neighbors or whatever. Another thing is, looking at the map right here. Okay, this is my property right here. And on this side of the property is Virginia Hayes's, is also, you know, where they bought this tract from, Virginia Hayes. On Virginia Hayes' side, you know, they got the side of the houses facing her property. On my side, they still got the back doors facing my property, the same way they got the back doors facing the road. So if she was the one that sold that property to them, I think they should have the back doors to her side. She's the one that sold the property for them to start this. So let her have the back doors to her side of the property and let her pick up the trash or whoever manages her property. I mean, if anything, you know, it needs to be the side of the houses facing my property. I don't want to see the back doors. I mean, does everybody see where I'm coming from?
I understand your
You
comment.
know, I mean, I got to look at this every day. I mean, neither one of you probably don't have to look at it, but I got to look at it every day. And I just don't want to look at it, and these developers don't have to look at it. And I'm not being up here being hard to get along with, but I care about this property, and all my neighbors care about this property. The developers don't care about it. And what we're requesting for it to stay R40, at the end of the day, when this decision is made, and I'm telling y'all how I care about the property, but at the end of the day, when y'all's decision is made, I'm gonna see how much each and every one of you care about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's okay. Blank paper.
All right, I'm gonna look one more time. I don't see any movement, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
Move to close the public hearing.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Tyson, any other comments you need to make at this time, sir?
No, sir.
Any questions of Mr. Tyson or members of the staff from a board member? Seeing none, what we need now then is a motion to approve or to deny the zoning map amendment, and also which would include the consistency and reasonableness. You keep using those words that are hard to say, Mr. Tyson, that goes along with whichever motion you make. So I'd entertain a motion at this time.
Can I make a comment before we do that?
Sir, you can.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, this is probably the hardest zoning thing I've been involved in, and I understand how you all feel. The good part about it is we have eliminated crossing the creek, which it makes it look a lot better than it did before. The 9 acres beside the road, this R40, if we change that, then we know what it looks like. And the thing about it is, and the thing that bothers me is, we know how it's laid out. Our goal as a board has been to get all these driveways and stuff off the state road. I don't know, Kevin could tell us if it could be redesigned or something, and the houses go a different way, you know, face a different way. But if we, it's just hard, and I understand how every one of you feels. I feel the same way. I don't necessarily like all this growth, but it is what it is, and we're gonna see a whole lot more of it. And yeah, you're right. We need to do a whole lot better planning than we have done in the past, but we've got to live with some of the things that's in our land development plan right now. And we've worked hard to get houses and driveways off the road. You have to consider that, you know, this has been Ms. Hayes' land for a long time, and now it belongs to somebody else. How do you tell them what they can and what they can't do with their land is a hard thing to do. If we do approve this rezoning today, I'd like to know from Kevin or from the developers if we could get some kind of buffer on Bullhead Road, 2 rows of Leyland cypress trees or something that would block the view, you know, start out being 6, 8 foot high or something like that. I think we need to do something, and I wonder what we could do if we just said, well, okay, one of my thoughts was that we do those 5 houses along the road, the one in the corner where you turn off Bullhead Road, that one's already 36,000 feet. And one of the other ones out of those 5 that's 35,000 feet. The way I figured it, if we had just 4 houses there instead of 5, we could have all those along the road would be 35,000 square feet lots, which may make it look better to y'all if we had some trees growing there. But it's a hard call, and it's a hard call for me. And it's in my district. And if we could just, Kevin, you got the comments?
Let me structure this thing right.
Go ahead.
Good, sir. Adam, first of all, at this point, could we put any other conditions on this rezoning?
We can. It will require the consent of the applicant, and so if the applicant would consent to that, we would add it to the list of 4 development conditions. If the applicant does not consent, then you still have to make a decision on the rezoning just without that being a condition.
Okay, and this would cause no delay?
No delay.
Okay. So is your request, Commissioner Combs, is to do some trees along the back of those lots that face Bullhead Road, that the back faces that? Do you want to put that?
Would there be any consideration to making those 5 lots bigger lots and cut them down to 4?
We're talking about these 5 lots
Right.
that have
There's
the
5
rear
right
facing
there.
the lot, not necessarily
That
this
one's
lot.
already 36,000 feet.
So you're talking about changing this from 5 to 4 with a planted vegetated buffer of 2 rows of Leland cypress along the road right-of-way. So I think what we need to do is hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative as to whether that is, if they would consider those 2 things. And again, the 2 things would be a reduction from 5 to 4 lots and the addition of a planted vegetated buffer on the eastern side of the road, the new road along Bullhead Road that would consist of 2 rows of Leland cypress.
Along Bullhead Road.
Along Bullhead Road.
Mr. Combs, I'd like to, if that is your request, I'd like for it to be 2 different requests and not combined together, if you would agree to that. Honestly, I do have some concern with this board beginning to redesign site plans when they come to us. Of course, if that's going to be your motion, that's going to be your motion, but it does bother me, and we're getting in an area asking for vegetation is not a major item, but if we're going to start taking the conditional use layouts that we're asking for, and then we're going to redesign them when they get here, it bothers me some, and I think we're starting something that we really need to consider before we start doing that. But with that said, my request to you is to put it a 2-part motion, but you can certainly put it 1 part if you so desire, sir.
So really what you're saying is we would ask the developer to comment on 2 separate potential conditions, one being the planted vegetated buffer and the other being the reduction from 5 to 4 lots.
I'm not stating anything. Mr. Combs has the floor. I'm just.
That was your suggestion.
To Mr. Combs, and it's his decision.
That was my thoughts at this moment, and yeah, I'd like to hear from the developer or Kevin or somebody.
But you don't have any objection to them to addressing those 2 things separately? They could have an answer for the buffer and an answer for the lot reduction?
That's fine, yes, fine.
Yep, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Combs.
Do we want to hear from?
I think we're going to in just a moment. It looks
Okay.
like they are discussing it back there. And if y'all need a moment, we can do something else.
Would you repeat the choice of that?
So the first question from the board to the developer is, would you be willing to require as a condition of the development a planted vegetated buffer from the eastern side of the new road along the backs of these lots that are along Bullhead Road? The buffer would be directly along the road right away, and it would be 2 rows of Leland cypress. The second question is, would the developer consent to a condition that these 5 lots on the north side, the north side of the new road, the south side of Bullhead Road, be reduced from 5 to a total of 4? And so we're looking for 2 answers. One answer is your consent on the buffer, and the second answer would be your consent or not on the lot reduction.
Mr. Tyson, I'd like for the way you stated that to be something similar to the cypress that you spoke of and not specific to that,
Right.
in case they have a better idea.
So we'll say, or similar species.
Right, because that particular species is very bug prone in our area and probably wouldn't stay there too long. But that gives you the look of what.
The
you're looking for.
flexibility.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belfield?
to put a buffer up there, why do we need to vote to change the lot from 5 to 4? Can't a buffer be put up there without doing that?
It's 2 different questions, Mr. Belfield, that Mr. Combs wanted to have addressed,
Yeah,
and they
but
are not tied
I
together.
understand the buffer,
Yes, sir.
and I would support a buffer.
My thought on that, Fred, was if we do that, then we've got every lot along that road is 35,000. Those four instead of five would average 35,239 square feet apiece. The other one that's already on the other side of the road is 36,000. The developer would lose one lot, and we'd be within 500 square feet of what these people are asking for. Except we would not have driveways on the road, which is what we've been working hard to prevent, is driveways on the road.
Well, having the driveway, that would reduce already in the proposal, not having driveways going out on the main road, right?
Yes, sir, it is, that is what's on the table at this time.
Yeah.
Request from some of the citizens was
So
to
we
put the
don't
driveway back
We don't
on.
need to amend, that's part of the
That's correct.
proposal.
That's correct. Yes, sir. That's right. Mr. Tyson, you going to ask for your answer on each one?
Yes, and I suppose what we need to do is just invite the applicant or his representative back to the microphone to address
That's
the
fine.
question.
Kevin, are you going to address this?
Yes, sir. So I would try to address this as a two-part option, and we may end up circling back to it. But the applicant is okay with providing a vegetative buffer for the 5 lots along Bullhead Road. What he has offered is to continue that buffer all the way down Bullhead Road for the entire frontage, and then come up the side that the Bailey property is on, where those rear lots are facing the Bailey property as well. So that would be his offer of, instead of losing the one lot, since we have already lost the 4 at the back because of the creek crossing, is to provide additional vegetation for the adjacent property owners. As they've expressed concerns about looking at the rear of those houses, that now gives us a uniform look across the entire road front and buffers the Bailey property as well.
Can you indicate with the mouse where that buffer would be?
The buffer would start at this property line, go across the road front all the way across, and then come up this side and stop right there.
With the
With the-
exception of the driveway for the new road.
That is correct.
So you answered both parts. Okay. Any question, Mr. Combs?
So having 4 lots instead of 5 right there would not be something they would consider.
Again, it's put the applicant in a very difficult position. They've lost the 4 lots with the previous request of not crossing the creek. So there's already a loss of lots there. And again, they don't want to get denied today and come back next month for a whole nother process. So they'd rather lose the lot than have to come back for another month. But they also don't want to give up that lot because they've already given up 4 for what the board has requested.
Okay, I think we're clear.
Thank you.
I'm back to asking for a motion on this matter number 8, for approval or denying the request of the rezoning, which is what we're actually doing, and any stipulation that you wish to put for this to go along with the rezoning request.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve this zoning request that was presented today, that take the place of the original request that had been approved. And the developer has already agreed that they put the buffer in there.
All right, so you make a motion for approval with the buffer that was stated.
With the buffer.
Okay, and also you would include the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness that the staff has in our document here today, which was how many items, Mr. Tyson? 5 items, I think you said.
Development conditions, there are 4 in the report, and I interpret Mr. Belfield's motion to add a 5th condition that would require a planted vegetative buffer consisting of 2 rows of Leland cypress or similar species in the location as indicated by the developer along this road frontage, and the back line of these lots right here.
Is that your motion, Mr. Belfield?
Yes.
Okay.
What he just described
Right.
here
Okay,
for developer.
thank you, sir. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
Aye.
I'm going to ask for a show of hands then. I'm not sure where they came from. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All in favor of the motion that was made. Okay, all opposed to the motion that was made. Motion failed. Where does that leave Mr. Dyson?
Well, that was a motion to adopt it with the added condition. Or is there another motion with a different variation, or do we move on?
Well, the engineer of record.
That was not a motion to deny. That was a motion to approve that failed.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's where we are.
That's where we are. And the motion, the engineer, I want to keep it straight where we are. The engineer also stated prior to losing the whole thing today that they would reconsider losing the one lot. So that is on the table, in my opinion, also, but I'd like clarity on that from either the developer or the engineer. The developer raised his hand. Did you wish to say something, sir?
Yes, that is an option.
Okay, are you saying the same thing he was going to say?
Yes, we would consider either all the items you wish.
Okay.
So that would be the addition of a,
We had hoped to leave us the current map so you could hold us to it, but a minor change, I guess, is okay. So we would be okay with what you suggested.
And I need your name and,
Ned Cole,
okay, and address.
11272 Covered Bridge Road.
Okay, thank you.
If that's put in here as a condition today, I understand, Ned, that wouldn't hold you up. You ready to go? You know, is that right, Adam?
correct, that would be no delay on the project.
We hope we had come back to you with a map that, and hopefully we've tried within the confines of the system to address most of the concerns you have. We're not crossing a creek, environmental impact would be on 0. And if we could plant a vegetative buffer that people are happy with, that's fine. If we have to lose a lot, that's fine. I think the important part is that you now hold us to that map. We cannot change our mind and go through the creek if you approve it this evening. If you should disapprove it, then we have to go back and we could simply do what we were doing before. But we tried to listen to the concerns and address those in the confines of what we're able to do with the system. Does that answer your question? But yes, we will be glad to lose a lot and put in the vegetative buffer, not only in the section you desire, but the entire front and the gentleman's property that goes down beside it.
All right, we had a motion to deny the formal motion. Is there a second motion that I can get at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve the rezoning, with the additional conditions of a planted buffer all along Bullhead Road and along the right-hand side of the property. And the roadside lots, number 41 to 45, move that from 5 lots to 4 lots.
A second.
And those would include now 7 items?
Six
conditions. 6 conditions as well.
4 original and 2 additional,
Okay. All right.
as well as a statement of reasonableness and consistency.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that goes with the second as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Does everybody understand the current motion?
Yeah.
All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
No. I didn't understand the motion,
Well, excuse me,
so I
sir.
voted against it.
Well, I want you to understand the motion so you can vote properly. The only difference between the motion that you made that was turned down and the motion that was currently made is they eliminated one lot on the frontage where there were 5 lots. Now it is 4 lots. Everything else stays the same.
And the buffer that you proposed
Right.
is still in.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
You said the process that I proposed still in,
You proposed a buffer.
right?
That is still in, yes, sir.
Without losing the lot.
No, that is the difference. They now lose a lot.
Well, I let my vote stay like it is.
So
No.
you are still a no vote.
No.
Okay. I think that was a 6-1 vote then. You got that, Madam Clerk? Yes, sir. Okay. All right, so the motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll now move to item number 9, which is a second public hearing for general rezoning request Z211101 for a general commercial district at Joiner's Crossroad, which was denied at the December 6th regular meeting. Mr. Tyson, if you would explain why we had that back before us again and how we can legally do that, sir.
Yep.
To the board.
This is, as the chairman said, we held a first public hearing on this request on December 6th. The board voted to deny that. The board requested via the chairman that it be added back for reconsideration at this month's regular meeting. That request was made with plenty of time to advertise and provide notice of a second public hearing today, which was done with a sign on the property, the required legal ads in the Rocky Mount Telegram, and a remailing of the notices to the surrounding property owners. The subject property, as indicated on the screen inside the red box on both the aerial photo on the left and the zoning map on the right, is 6.06 acres, currently owned by Roger C. Barnes Jr. As you can see, it's at the northwest corner of the Joiner's Crossroad, which is the intersection of Highway 97 and South Halifax Road. Property's undeveloped, and you can see by the green color, it's currently zoned R30. It's directly across South Halifax Road from Jack's Grocery and diagonally opposite from the Food Line Shopping Center and the new ABC store, which is located here. Property has access to Nash County Public Water along both roads. The property owner submitted this request initially for consideration at last month's meeting to rezone the property from R30 to GC Commercial. And the properties that you see in the darker red, the ABC store, the Dollar General, and what I believe is a proposed Family Dollar, have all been previously rezoned to GC, which is the zone that's requested for the subject property. You have an attached excerpt in your report that lists all the land uses that are permitted for development in the proposed GC zoning district. This request has not changed in any substantial way from the last time you considered it. It is still a general rezoning, and if approved, the property could be developed for any or a combination of the land uses that are in that packet. However, what is new today is that the prospective developer has provided a site plan showing what the current plan for the development of the property would be. It includes, of course, the property is right here, outlined in this area. It includes a new gas station convenience center to be located right at the corner. This is the store itself. It would have access driveways, which I understand to have already received a preliminary approval from the NCDOT, one on South Halifax Road, and then one down here on Highway 97. The remainder of the property would be zoned for future commercial use, but there is no proposed plan for it currently, other than the gas station convenience store right at the corner. And what was a topic of conversation at last month's meeting, you can see here that the developer has accounted for the additional right-of-way that would be needed in order for the NCDOT to eventually, at one point, convert this intersection into a roundabout that would improve traffic flow and traffic safety. And so you can see that the design for the proposed gas station convenience store accounts for the reduction of that right-of-way, which would be needed to construct the roundabout without negatively impacting the existing business here at Jack's Grocery. I do want to make it clear, both for the board and for the record, that this is not a conditional rezoning, and this site plan, although it is a accurate, as far as we know, reflection of the developer's current plans, it is not attached to the rezoning as a condition. And so at any point, the developer could develop something that is proposed in the GC zoning district or could sell the property to someone else. So the general rezoning does still give the full permission for the entire list of uses that are outlined in your report. But what we have today is the current proposal from the prospective purchaser and developer. The land development plan, as you'll recall, already establishes a large general commercial area centered around this intersection, and the property falls entirely within it. That means it has already been forecast and recommended for general commercial rezoning as far back as 2006 to encourage more intensive and efficient commercial land uses with shared road access and interconnectivity. And of course, as I already mentioned, the property has access to county public water lines along both road frontages. Technical Review Committee recommended approval back on November 3rd. The Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval on November 15th. And just like the last request, you have a motion for approval and a motion for denial. But again, different from the last request, there is no opportunity to attach a condition because of the general nature of the rezoning. And with that, I'll pause and take any questions that you have on the staff report.
Any questions for Mr. Tyson on this matter? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Tyson. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into a public hearing on this.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from anyone. And again, this is a second public hearing, and we did not hear from anyone the first time, if I recall correctly, for this general commercial rezoning at the intersection of 97 and Halifax Road. So if anyone here wishes to speak, come forward at this time. State your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
We close the public hearing.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Any other questions of Mr. Tyson by any board member on this item?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know what convenience store is coming to that area, if it's public knowledge yet.
I would ask the applicant if he wishes that to be public knowledge. He is sitting in the audience.
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. This is Marvin Sharon, and he and his wife own the EP convenience marts that we have many of throughout Nash, Edgecombe County, Halifax County, and numerous other places. So that is the proposed one. And of course, that's, of course, Commissioner Wilkins, irrelevant to the zoning that we're getting ready to do.
Okay, just wanted to know.
Okay. No issue. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval or denial of this request that would include the plan consistency and reasonableness.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the request as being consistent with the land development plan and being reasonable in public interest and not spot zoning.
I have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, whose district this is located in. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Who was first down there? Gwen, okay. Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Thank you, Mr. Sharon, for being here this morning. All right, we'll move on to item number 10, which is a public hearing on general rezoning request Z211201, which is to expand a general commercial zone at 3714 and 3718 South Halifax Road, and also located in Mr. Outlaw's district. Mr. Tyson?
The subject property is indicated in red on the aerial photo on the left and in yellow on the zoning map on the right. It is a 2-acre portion of a larger 2.39-acre parcel. And so this rectangle that is cut out of the middle of the piece of property is actually considered a part of the same parcel. The parcel just has 2 different zoning classifications. The property is owned by Gregory and Teresa Ashley. It's located at 3714 and 3718 South Halifax Road. It's just south of the Westmount Crossroads, which of course you can see here, which is the intersection of Westmount Drive and South Halifax Road. Property is currently zoned R20 and R30. You see the tip of the triangle there is in the higher density R20 corridor that runs along the road, and then the great majority of the subject property is in the R30, which is a slightly darker green color. The rectangle that I mentioned that is already zoned general commercial contains the existing buildings for Ashley's Hardware and Supplies in the front and Ashley's Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Incorporated in the rear. It's also across the road from Ramos Pizza and Grill Restaurant, which is on the corner here. And again, everything you see in red is already zoned GC, general commercial. The property is not located in a regulated floodplain, but it is in the Tar-Pamlico River Basin and the WS4 PA Watershed Protection Overlay District, meaning that the site's future development will have to contend with stormwater management regulations. The rezoning request is to rezone everything in the yellow, which again is a combination of R20 and R30, to GC. So it would expand this red rectangle to include the boundaries of the property that are indicated on the map. The GC zoning district's primarily intended to accommodate a wide range of retail, service, office, and high-density residential uses. They are typically located with access to major thoroughfares and urban services and are intended to accommodate intensive commercial uses such as shopping centers, strip centers, business parks, as well as freestanding highway-oriented business establishments. Again, you have the same excerpt in your packet from the table of permitted uses that outlines the full range of land uses permitted in the GC zoning district. If we consult the land use plan, you will see that the request is consistent with the plan. The plan already designates a somewhat irregular shaped rural commercial area that's shown in red. A portion of the subject property is found in that area. And of course, I don't know how this shape was determined, but it is an indicator that around this intersection, the county intends to encourage and establish additional commercial uses. The request would obviously not be spot zoning because when we return to the zoning map, it would simply be an expansion of the already existing GC zoning district that's found in the rectangle to fill the confines of the outlined property. Technical Review Committee considered this on December 9, recommended approval. Planning Board considered this on December 20. There were no members of the public other than the applicant present to address the board regarding the request, and the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request. Just as you had last time, there's a motion to approve and a motion to deny. Both involve a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. And again, as a reminder, this is a general rezoning, so there is not an opportunity to specify a particular land use or attach conditions such as a proposed site plan. And with that, I will take any questions from the board.
Questions of Mr. Tyson at this time? Seeing none, entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this rezoning.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on item number 10. It's another general rezoning expansion this time. If there's anyone here wishes to speak for or against this item, please come forward at this time and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to speak? All right, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Wow.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Is there any other questions of Mr. Tyson prior to calling for a motion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval or denial of this request.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the request as being consistent with the recommendations of the Nash County Land Development Plan and being reasonable in the public interest and not spot zoning.
Okay. Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Is there any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Rezoning stands approved, sir. We'll move on to item number 11, which is another public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 211201 for heavy construction contractor at the intersection of US 64A and NC 231. Mr. Tyson?
The subject property on your screen is just a little under 7 acres. It's owned by GSM Properties LLC. And as the chairman noted, it's at the southeast corner of Highway 64 alternate, which is here, and Highway 231 here. It is also immediately adjacent to the exit ramp from the US 64 bypass, which of course you can see here. It's located, it's currently wooded and undeveloped. It's not located in a regulated floodplain or a designated watershed protection overlay district, but it is in the Tar-Pamlico River Basin, meaning that stormwater management regulations would apply. There is no public utilities, water or sewer service currently available in the area, so the future development of the site would utilize an on-site well and septic system. The request before you today is to rezone the property to GICZ, General Industrial Conditional Zone, specifically for the development of a heavy construction contractor facility. Specifically, it would be operated at least initially by FMC Grading Incorporated, which is an established grading contractor currently located in Durham, North Carolina, that is proposing a relocation to Nash County. The GI zoning district that's requested is primarily intended to accommodate a wide range of assembling, fabricating, and manufacturing uses, and it's established for the purpose of providing appropriate locations and development regulations for uses that require special measures to ensure compatibility with adjoining properties. This is a conditional request, so there is the opportunity to attach reasonable site-specific development conditions. And of course, if approved, the request could only be developed for a heavy construction contractor facility and only in accordance with the approved site plan. So if we turn our attention to that proposed site plan, it depicts a 1,250 square foot office building right here that is attached to a 6,250 square foot warehouse space immediately behind it. An 11-space paved parking lot in the front with direct access to US Highway 64 alternate, and a large fenced outdoor storage yard that will be a combination of concrete pavement and gravel in this area. And that gravel area includes an additional 28 parking spaces along the eastern side there. The area indicated for the proposed septic system would fall right here. And the property would be visually screened from the surrounding properties and the road rights of way to the east, west, and south by a proposed buffer of preserved natural vegetation. So everywhere you see the green shading, that is natural vegetation that the applicant proposes to leave as screening for the property. Now, the only part of that screening that is specifically mandated by the ordinance is this 25-foot wide strip along the eastern side, because that property that is adjacent is residentially used. But obviously, you see that the developer has proposed over and above just that strip by maintaining a wider buffer on that side, as well as screening around all sides except for where the lot will actually access US Highway 64 alternate. The land development plan designates this area as suburban growth area, and the request is mostly consistent with the recommendations of the plan. The plan recommends that limited non-residential land uses within this area meet specific locational criteria. The first is that they should have frontage along and access to a major state highway or secondary road. And as you can see, the subject property does have frontage and direct access to US Highway 64 alternate. It also has frontage along NC 231, both of which are major highways, so it meets that criteria. It recommends that the non-residential land uses be limited. The conditional use nature of this request qualifies it as a limited land use because, again, it can only be developed for that specific land use of heavy construction contractor, and it must be developed in accordance with the approved site plan. Thirdly, the property should be located at a major intersection, and certainly this property is located directly at the intersection of these two major highways. If we can go back to the aerial photo. Fourthly, it should have proximity to similar land uses. You'll note that the subject property has relative proximity to the existing and already industrially zoned suburban propane site to the east. And so if you look at the zoning map on the right-hand side of your screen, this is an existing general industrial zoning district. It is a general district, so it does not have conditions on it that is pre-existing and already established in the area that we're looking at. And finally, the plan recommends that there be spatial separation from non-compatible land uses such as existing residential development. So when I say that it is mostly compatible with the recommendations, the only problem with the property is that it is immediately adjacent to a residentially used lot right here at 12007 US Highway 64A. But as we already discussed, the natural vegetative screening buffer would serve to mitigate the impact of the facility on that property, and that buffer is much wider than what is specifically minimally mandated by the ordinance. The request is considered by the staff to be reasonable, in the public interest, and not unreasonable spot zoning because of the property's unique location at the interchange of Highway 231 and 64 bypass. That will allow the quick and efficient access for the contractor's heavy equipment to potential construction sites throughout the region. That also calls attention to the second reason it's considered reasonable, and that is that the heavy construction activity performed by the business will primarily be performed off-site. And so this site will include office space, storage space, some limited vehicle maintenance space, and a lot of parking area. But the actual industrial activity will occur at building sites throughout the region. And again, the proposed screening measures should mitigate the potential impact on the adjacent and surrounding properties. The Technical Review Committee considered this request in this site plan on December 9 and recommended approval. The Planning Board considered it on December 20th. Mr. Robert Fulton of 234 River Ridge Lane, and that is the property that would be to the north directly across 64 alternate, addressed the board with questions about the proposed use of the property. Mr. Travis Feltz of FMC Grading explained that the site would be used for office activity, material storage, employee parking, and the servicing of equipment. The Planning Board therefore voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request. There is a motion to approve, along with a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. I would call your attention to the 1, 2, 3, 4 development conditions that are proposed by the TRC and the Planning Board. First of all, that it be limited to the development of a heavy construction contractor facility only. Condition number 2 outlines some changes to the site plan. Number 1, the NCDOT has requested that a left-hand turn lane be depicted in US 64 alternate. That would be a condition of the issuance of the driveway permit for the new facility. The sidewalk directly in front of the office would need to be widened by 1 foot, or they could install wheel stops to ensure the minimum walking clearance there. The site plan should depict a proposed location for a stormwater control measure. You'll note that I mentioned that it will be subject to stormwater regulations. And a label on the title block of the site plan needs to be approved. Condition number 3 outlines that the vegetative buffers as shown on the site plan will be preserved. And condition number 4 outlines the other approvals and permits that will be required prior to a construction approval by the county. And then the second motion would be to deny the amendment or the zoning map amendment. And to do so, the board would need to identify why it is either inconsistent with the recommendations of the land use plan, unreasonable, or not in the public interest. And of course, I stand ready to help you draft a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness if that is the direction the board chooses to go. And with that, I will pause and take any questions on the staff report.
Questions, Mr. Tyson, on this matter? Mr. Tyson, on the left-hand side, which would be the east side, what is that easement?
You talking about the right-hand side?
The right-hand, I said left.
Yeah, that is the 25-foot vegetative buffer that's required by the ordinance.
Okay.
But of course, the green overruns that and provides in excess of the minimal requirement.
So that's the only buffer that is required, is that 25 foot?
Right, and that's because of the directly adjacent residentially used property that's located here.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Other questions? Thank you, sir. Entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this.
Make a motion to go into public hearing.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
You do. You just,
I'm getting ready to go into public hearing, ma'am. Yes. So I have a motion to go into public hearing and a second. Any questions on that? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing on this matter, which is item number 11 on our agenda today. And if there's anyone here wishes to speak for or against this item, we ask you to come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the board would be glad to hear from you. Anyone here wish to speak? Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm sorry for the interruption. I just thought y'all were just going to pass it.
No,
Okay.
we try not to do that. But state your name. And
My name is Joanne Turner, and my husband and I, Joseph E. Turner Jr., live on the 143 Boone Lane, which is located right on this side.
Okay.
My first concern is the environmental concerns is the storm drainage. There's water that sits right out here all the time. I mean, I know it rained hard today. The county has come out here, I believe it's the county, and worked on the ditches there.
That would be
But the water still sits there. And my concern is, I know he said about the storm drainage would be an issue. And I know when we bought this from my uncle and aunt, Warren Boone, and when this highway was put in, they didn't know there was a drainage that goes through here somewhere, and it goes across our property at an angle, and it's never kept cleaned out. So therefore, the water backs up, and the water backs up here too, because it's supposed to drain across over to here. And there's already concern now, okay? Our property where our trailer is does sit up high. It doesn't flood in our area, but it goes down all in this area and it floods. So my concern is, you know, I know this, they say gravel here and concrete. And I come from a big city and I worked for utility companies a long time ago. And I know the concerns of when you overbuild, just like y'all doing, well, that's something else. But anyways, no one looks to the concern of, you know, of the flooding. And a lot of it's urban flooding caused the you know, they don't build a big enough storm drainage through here. And my concern, like I said, is it going to keep cleaned out? Are y'all going to do something about the roads the way the road is and the grass that grows on top doesn't drain properly. There is a ditch here, but like today, the water was running down the road and just puddling right in here, okay? And that's my main concern, okay? The other concern would be the noise pollution and the lighting around here. I know he's going to leave a buffer here, which I appreciate, and we have trees to buffer. But I just wonder about the noise and the lighting, you know, as far as, you know, we hear the noise now as it is because of the highway. But those are my concerns I'd like for y'all to think about. And I guess that's it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
I appreciate you listening.
I will address just a part of what you said. The county does not maintain any roads. That's not a function of a county. They are maintained by the state or by a municipality. In this case, since they are SR numbers, all of that maintenance on both of those roads would be by North Carolina DOT.
DOT,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. So you may wish to talk to them and discuss your problem there.
I have several times.
Okay. You may
Okay.
want to keep addressing, but I didn't want you to leave here thinking it was a county function.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I know it was borderline. They threw it back to them, they threw it back to them. It's been back and forth.
Well, if they
I
throw
just-
it back to us, we'd like to know that, but I don't think that would take place because they took over full authority of the roads in the county and Mr. Lamb, 30-something, 34, yeah. And so we don't have any responsibility for that at all. That would be them.
My fight is with them.
Yes, ma'am. I'm afraid that fight's with them.
Okay.
Now, the other things you mentioned would certainly be applicable to what this board would consider. And on storm drainage, Mr. Tyson mentioned that it did fall under our stormwater ordinance, which means that as it's developed, the gentleman will have to do something to maintain the rate of flow away from the site at the same rate it is in a wooded state, which it appears to be. So he can't increase the amount of drainage leaving this particular site. So you're somewhat covered there, but then your other battle, like I say, is with the DOT.
Okay. And there has been, let me bring one other thing, there's been several, we've only lived there for a little over 3 years, and I've already seen several terrible accidents.
Is that due to the standing
There should
water?
definitely be a light put here, in my opinion. And slow down, if you're going to put this construction here, of slowing down the speed limit to 45, I don't know how far back, if that's a county thing or if that's a DMV thing, I don't know.
That's all DOT, but,
Because I believe with them trucks turning in here, I do agree on that lane, that there could be several more, you know, severe accidents.
right. And this is in Commissioner Combs' district also. Knowing him like I do, I'm sure he is going to contact DOT about this concern as well.
I will.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
I will.
All right, thank you for your
Thank
time.
you for being here. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Marcia Hopkins. I'm at 12007, adjacent to this property. I guess my main concern, and I know you're putting a barrier, I guess a sound barrier around there. My main concern is the noise, you know, and hours of, their hours of operations is what it is. Are they going to be coming in, you know, late in the evenings or, I don't know how much the trees, I mean, how much of a sound barrier can you have to eliminate? Is there going to be any, I guess the trucks coming in and out of there, I don't assume they're going to be large trucks, just maybe smaller vehicles, I don't know. But my main concern is the noise and having a good sound barrier there, so.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Other persons that wish to speak for or against this item? Adam, is this applicant present today?
Yes.
Okay. Did the applicant want to say anything? I'm not sure who it is.
This is Mr. Travis Phillips.
I see a cat head out there. I would assume it was him, but I didn't want to make that assumption.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Travis Phelps, and I do own FMC Graydon. I own this lot and want to move my business from Durham to the Spring Hope area. My wife and I, we both live in Spring Hope now, and the commute is about an hour. I understand their concerns, and I'm not here to try to impact anybody's life in a negative way. Trying to be respectful of the neighbors and people living around it, which is why we want to increase the buffer around it and add more than what's required. I do have big trucks, and they will be coming in the afternoon, not late at night. As far as the impact of drainage, like Adam said, I'm required to put in a catch basin or storm, whatever, to minimize the runoff. So, not here to ruffle anybody's feathers or cause any problems, just want to try to continue to run my business closer to home.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else wish to speak? Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Public hearing is now closed. Any other questions of Mr. Tyson from any board member? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval or denial of this request.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I make a motion, we approve this request.
Mr. Tyson?
With,
Okay, thank you.
the following developmental conditions, with the conditions listed here, and I don't think we've added any.
Right, correct.
So with the plan consistency and reasonableness statement.
Yep.
And the 4 development conditions as noted in the report.
That's right.
Exactly what you said, didn't you, Mr. Cook?
I did.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, a second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That motion carries. Thank you. And on behalf of the board, I do wish to thank the applicant for the tremendous amount of vegetation he has agreed to leave here. I think it made it much more compatible. Sometimes we don't get that much cooperation, but that will go a long ways towards noise reduction. I promise you, with the trees that are apparently located on there now, and intends with this map, it has to be left like this because it is a conditional use rezoning. So I do thank you on behalf of that. Appreciate you being here today and appreciate you considering Nash County to bring your business to.
I'd just like to ditto that. I appreciate y'all coming to Nash County. They've already moved to Nash County. I know where they live. I talked to some of your neighbors about you, and he thought y'all good folks, Danny Massey. And we appreciate you coming to Nash County. I understand you moving from Durham, but you're coming to a better place. Thank you.
And Commissioner Combs, I know you're gonna get in touch with DOT about this drainage problem.
I will.
We certainly don't want to make it any worse, and it sounds like you may have water on the roadway sometime. I'm not sure I got that out of there,
Yeah,
but.
I'll take a look at it and I'll call.
Okay, thank you, sir. We are now on item then number 12, which is a public hearing on conditional use rezoning CZ 211202 to expand the solar farm on Taylor Gin Road.
The request consists of 3 adjacent tracts of land. You can see them outlined on the 2 maps on your screen that total up to 470.75 acres. This is on the northwest side of Taylor's Gin Road. It's to the east of the town of Castelia. And as you can see in the zoning map to the right, the area is solidly A1 agricultural in terms of its zoning classification. The northern tract here is about 220.5 acres, is owned jointly by Cynthia Wyatt, Sydney Ruffin Griffin, Stephanie Denise Griffin. The southern tract, which is approximately 200 acres down here, is owned by Nancy B. Bunting. Both of those tracts were included in the original proposal, but what is being added today is the western tract shown here, which is about 50 additional acres owned by Castelia Sunlight LLC. The site contains an existing electrical transmission line easement. You can see it running diagonally across the property, which is probably what makes it attractive for solar farm development. It is immediately adjacent to an existing Duke Energy Progress electrical substation site down here near to Taylor's Gin Road. It's immediately adjacent to the Northern Nash solar farm. And so if you can see in this area, there are existing solar panels for a previously approved solar farm right there. There's also a solar farm directly across Taylor's Gin Road on this parcel that has been developed since this aerial photograph was taken. So it is already in close proximity to two other existing solar projects. It's directly across the road from the Meriwether Place subdivision, which are 10 undeveloped lots right along Taylor's Gin Road that were subdivided back in 2003. Property is not located in a regulated floodplain or a watershed protection overlay district, but it is in the Tar-Pamlico River Basin, meaning it's subject to stormwater regulations. It also includes some existing wetlands and riparian stream buffer areas that must remain undisturbed, and the developer has taken account of those in designing the proposed plan. In May of 2021, the board approved a conditional use permit to authorize the development of this 80 megawatt photovoltaic Gideon solar farm on the two largest tracts of the subject property, again, the one to the north and the one to the south. Since that time, the developer has expanded the proposed project to also include the immediately adjacent 50-acre parcel to the west. The other thing that has changed in that time is our development regulations. The board will recall back in July of 2021, you adopted various amendments to our development ordinance to conform to the revised local planning and development regulations of North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 160D. Prior to that date, a solar farm within our jurisdiction required the issuance of a conditional use permit, which you will recall was a quasi-judicial procedure. It now requires the establishment of a conditional zoning district instead, which is a simpler legislative procedure. Therefore, if this request is adopted, the conditional zone for the expanded solar farm would replace the previously granted permission under the conditional use permit and would, of course, expand the project to include all three tracts. The conditional nature of the request allows for the attachment of conditions, and because it's conditional, the property could only be developed for a solar farm in accordance with the proposed site plan. The site plan is substantially the same as the plan that was previously approved for the solar farm, with the exception of that additional property to the west shown right here. The facility will continue to have a driveway off of Taylor's Gin Road. It will continue to include fenced areas with rows of ground-mounted solar panel arrays like every other solar farm in Nash County. It will also have its own new electrical substation that would be adjacent to the existing electrical transmission line. And the applicant requests authorization to construct the facility on all or portions of the shaded solar area array area. So when you see the area that is striped in red, those areas have been designated because they avoid the minimum building setbacks around the perimeter of the property, and they also avoid the wetlands and riparian buffers that the developer has identified. And so probably the eventual design will not locate solar panels in the entire red striped area, because as they proceed with their engineering on the project, they will gather more information about which areas are more or less suitable for the solar panels. But today, they are asking for the flexibility to place solar panels anywhere within the striped area. The plan recognizes a 50-foot wide access easement that was previously established right here across the northern tract. That easement will remain clear and passable during and after the construction of the proposed facility. There's also a 25-foot wide natural vegetative buffer to be preserved directly along the road frontage of the solar farm on the northwestern side of Taylor's Gin Road to screen the view of the facility from the actual road right-of-way. Previously, when the board approved this project, due to the large size and complexity of the proposed solar farm project, as well as the multi-million-dollar investment required to upgrade all the surrounding electrical infrastructure, the applicant requested and was approved by the board for a 5-year vested right under North Carolina General Statute 160D-108.1E2, and the developer has again requested a 5-year vested right. That 5-year would reset from the previous date to today's date if the project is reapproved in its new form. The land development plan designates the entire area as a rural growth area. As we've discussed before, the plan was written before solar farms were a common land use in this part of the state, so they're not specifically commented on. But solar farms have previously been found to be consistent with the general recommendations for this rural growth area because, number one, they don't require services that are typically available only in more urban or suburban areas. They don't require public water or public sewer. And number two, the facilities have proven compatible with the low-density residential and agricultural development pattern that you usually find in the rural growth area. The request would not be spot zoning. It would be considered reasonable and in the public interest because the solar farm will provide renewable, sustainable, alternative energy. The solar farm should generate minimal noise and traffic and should not generate any dust, fumes, odors, or toxic wastes. The solar farm facility, as we discussed, will be screened from the view of the public road right-of-way by that preserved natural vegetative buffer, and it may operate in harmony with the other agricultural and residential land uses typically found throughout the A1 zoning district. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on December 9 and recommended approval. Furthermore, the TRC recommended that the same conditions that were previously attached to the conditional use permit be attached to this conditional rezoning. The planning board reviewed it on December 20th. There were no members of the public other than the applicant there to address the board. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval with the attachment of the same conditions as previous. This is included in your packet as a motion to approve or deny with a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness for both. I do want to, if you'll bear with me just a moment, review the development conditions that were previously attached to the conditional use permit and which are recommended to be carried over for this rezoning. Number one, the subject property is approved for the development of a photovoltaic solar farm only. Number two, it must be developed on the subject property in accordance with the submitted materials, the approved site plan, and all the applicable requirements of the ordinance. Number three, as required last time, any inverters or battery energy storage systems must be located a minimum of 300 feet from the exterior boundary of the subject property. The vegetative buffer along the road shall be preserved to screen the facility. The access easement should be remain clear and passable both during and after construction of the facility. There is permission for a permanent modular trailer to be located on the solar farm facility site, subject to the standard permitting requirements applicable to that type of structure. And finally, item number 7 outlines the other permits and documents that will need to be submitted to the county prior to a construction approval. Number 8 outlines the 5-year vested right if the board chooses to approve it. And number 9 is a requirement that the facility shall be removed at either the expense of the landowner or such other responsible party identified by the lease agreement within 180 days of a determination that the facility has been abandoned or is no longer being maintained in an operable state of good repair. And I will pause there and take any questions on the staff report.
Questions of Mr. Tyson on this matter? 2 questions, Mr. Tyson. The last statement you just made, or next to the last statement about removal been the responsibility of the landowner or any other designated party? I don't,
Designated by the lease agreement.
by the lease agreement, I don't recall you making that statement before, but you may have.
We have had that attached to the last several solar farms we've approved. The ordinance designates the landowner as being the responsible party, but we have amended that in the conditions because typically what we see is the developer who will hold the lease agreement will have a stipulation for removal that removes that responsibility from the property owner.
I guess my question is, should we relinquish that property owner based on that with no ability to go back to a developer where we know the property owner is going to still be here? Did
Right.
we approve that change, I guess?
So the property owner's going to still be there, but somebody will be the leaseholder for the facility. And so if the lease is still active, I mean, I guess maybe this is a question for the attorney. Do you have a thought on that?
Well, my first question is, did this board approve that change?
The ordinance has not been amended.
Okay.
But this language has been in at other solar farm approval conditions.
Okay.
Under the ordinance, I think the landowner remains responsible, but he can shift it to his tenant under the lease. But I think as far as our concern, both would be responsible.
So I guess the question would be, do we want to eliminate that language from that condition? Do we want to eliminate the reference in the condition to the leaseholder and leave the burden on the property owner?
I'm going to let Mr. Durham answer, but I know what I think we should do. Me.
Go ahead and tell us what you think it should be.
It probably should be landowner or other responsibility, so we always going to have the landowner.
Well, and that's what it says, or such other responsible party as identified by the lease agreement.
So we still got, in your opinion, we still got the landowner, the way it's stated?
I do, under our ordinance.
Okay, that's fine then, I'm good.
Okay.
I just didn't pick it up that way to start with, but that's fine. And then the second one, Mr. Belfield, then I'll give you the floor. And these where we're given 5 years to start them, I guess, potentially. Correct. Do you generally see these lands being utilized for agricultural purposes, if that's what they were? Do they keep right on using it, let's leg it during that period of time, if it's 5 years, or what do you?
Up until construction begins?
Yes, sir.
I think it varies. I don't know that I can tell you what the standard is on that.
Okay. No, we don't necessarily, that doesn't take it out of being utilized.
Rezoning does not take it out of being utilized, and it also does not change its ability to participate in the deferred use program for agricultural taxation.
That's really what I was trying to get to. So it doesn't prevent that from still staying in effect.
Not as long as it continues to be used. The zoning change doesn't trigger its removal from that program.
Mr. Belfield?
I can remember we have voted in favor of these solar farms. We did say in there that we didn't start that way, but we started saying that the company would be responsible and not the landowner if they need to be removed. Now, is that a violation of the ordinance?
I don't recall us saying.
Well, we did. I can remember.
But as the ordinance, as Mr. Durham and Mr. Tyson pointed out, it puts the emphasis back on the landowner.
That's what the ordinance says.
Yes, sir.
But that's not what, on some of them, that's not, we start saying that responsibility.
This language that also includes the leaseholder has been on the last few solar farm projects that we did.
All right. But it's been determined by the attorney, this landowner is still who we're going to look to.
So we violate our authority.
I couldn't hear you.
His question was, by saying that, have we violated our authority, and you can say what you said again, which I
I
think.
think as a condition, you can add another responsible party,
Sure,
and that's what we've done.
right, and not taken
It
away.
really ought to say and rather than or. And/or.
Change it to and/or.
That take care of you, Mr. Belfield?
Well, the attorney cleared it up.
Yes, sir.
It should be and or.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Maybe they ought to be responsible together.
Well, it sounds like that's what could happen. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to call for a 10-minute recess before going into this public hearing at the request of a couple of commissioners, and we'll be back in 10 minutes, and I'll call for a public hearing at that time. Thank you. I'll call us back in session at this time, and I'd like to call on Mr. Tyson to make one other comment about this prior to going into public hearing on the solar farm.
That's correct. During the recess, I was advised by the applicant that they have negotiated an additional condition that they would like to add to the proposal prior to the public hearing. I'm going to try to go back to the aerial photograph. And let me go back to the property line in question is right here. It's about 500-foot stretch that is adjacent to property owned by the Fisher family. They would like to, as a result of their discussions with the Fisher family, offer an additional condition. It states the applicant will provide a 25-foot wide vegetative buffer along that approximately 500 feet of property line between the site and the adjacent parcel, which they identify by its PIN number. Said buffer to consist of either existing vegetation or planted managed regrowth to be located on either the site or the adjacent parcel as agreed between the applicant and the adjacent parcel owner. So it requires a vegetative buffer along this 500 feet of property, and it allows the flexibility for it to either be located on the solar farm side or the Fisher family side. And the purpose of adding that as a condition, even though they have privately negotiated it, is in case this project were to be sold to a new developer, that the condition would travel with the approval and would be enforceable by the county. And so that would be one additional condition at the end of the list that I reviewed.
Entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter at this time.
So moved.
Second.
I do have a green light, just came back. Okay. All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Did you get those, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing on this solar farm request for rezoning. And if there's someone here in the audience that wishes to speak for or against this item, we'd like to hear from you this time, and this is item number 12 on our agenda. Just come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to speak? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Brooks Camp, and I'm with Bird's Eye Renewable Energy. We are at 1125 East Moorhead Street, Suite 202, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Welcome to Nash County, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tyson, for introducing this change. I'm here with my colleague Emily Brown and our attorney Suzanne Todd. I know you guys are familiar with this project and with solar in general, so I'm going to keep this as brief as I can. As Mr. Tyson pointed out, the only change is the addition of that 50-acre parcel. That parcel is not adjacent to any residential parcels, and it does not extend the road frontage, so we feel it's a pretty low impact change. We did reach out to all adjacent landowners, and I believe the planning department also sent out notifications. And at this point, we are not aware of any opposition to this change. The only comment we got was from Ms. Fisher, and we did discuss that with her, and she's happy with that addition of the vegetative buffer. Right now, I'll give you a quick update on the project. We have signed an interconnection agreement with Duke Energy. That changed since our previous appearance. We are in the design phase of the project with Duke, and our current target for commercial operation date is 2023, although that is subject to change based on market supply chain uncertainty that everybody's aware of these days. So that's driving our request for 5-year vested rights. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Any questions of the applicant from a board member? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this item, for or against? Seeing no one, entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? The public hearing is now closed. Any other questions of staff from a commissioner at this time? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve or to deny the zoning request amendment with the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. Actually, I'm on the wrong light item, but it still says the same thing. Yeah, I'm on 12.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the conditional rezoning request along with the consistency plan, along with that vegetation buffer that was added.
A total of how many items now, Mr. Tyson?
That would be an addition, that would add condition number 10.
Number 10, okay.
All right.
All right, have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Property is rezoned. Thank you all for coming back and see us again. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 13, which is the public hearing conditional use CZ 211204 for the Baker Farm subdivision. Mr. Tyson?
Subject property is about 45 acres. It is highlighted in red on the left on the aerial photo, and again on the southern portion of the zoning map on the right, which is a little more zoomed out to give you some context. It's owned by Marguerite F. Baker. It is on Barnes Hill Church Road in the R40 Single Family Residential Zoning District, as indicated by the green color. Property is undeveloped. It's located between the town of Nashville, which would be off to the northwest, and Interstate 95, which is off to the southeast of where we're looking. The property is in the Tarp-Hamilco River Basin and the WS4PA Watershed Overlay District, so stormwater management requirements will apply. It is not in a regulated floodplain. The developer notes that a preliminary environmental report indicated no buffered stream features on the property, but an official determination would be required prior to future construction. As you can see on the zoning map, this property is located just south of the 45-lot Castleberry Section 2 subdivision, which was rezoned by the board to R20CU back in February of 2019. And the request before you today is for a extremely similar RA20CZ designation for this property for the development of a 55-lot Baker Farm subdivision. The proposed RA20 zoning district is primarily intended to accommodate single-family detached dwellings where public water and/or public sewer services are available, or where soil characteristics allow for medium-density development. The request would have 3 substantial impacts on the property. Of course, it would cut the minimum required lot size in half from 40,000 to 20,000. It would eliminate 9 land uses, including double-wide manufactured homes that are currently permitted on the property, but would not be permitted under the new proposed district. And it would tie the development of the property specifically to the sketch plan and to any conditions that are attached with the consent of the applicant. We turn our attention to the sketch plan that was proposed. This was prepared by Joyner Keeney. It was submitted to serve as the required site plan for the rezoning request. As you can see, it proposes the development of 55 new residential lots that must either meet or exceed the standard 20,000 square foot minimum lot area and 100-foot minimum lot width requirement. The plan includes 2 road connections to the adjacent property to the east, one on both sides of the pond, here and here, and 1 road connection to the adjacent property to the north here, and the adjacent property to the south there, for maximum future connectivity when and if the surrounding properties are developed residentially. Only one of these lots, which is lot 54 on this plan right here, will be accessed directly from the existing Barnes Hill Church Road. So the property down here in the corner would have a driveway along Barnes Hill Church Road. It is sufficiently wide for a high-traffic road, and then all the other lots would be accessed by the interior network of new roads. The developer, again, would be required to construct new water lines within the subdivision to extend service to all the proposed lots. The land development plan designates this whole area a suburban growth area, and of course, the request is consistent with the plan because of the presence of the 6-inch water line, Nash County public water line, along the Barnes Hill Church Road public right-of-way. The request was considered reasonable and in the public interest by the staff because it is not spot zoning due to its similarity to the previously existing R20 CU zoning district established for Castleberry Section 2 in February 2019 to the north. The subject property already is and will continue to be zoned for residential use. And while it will permit slightly smaller minimum lot areas, it will be slightly more restrictive in terms of the land uses that can be developed there. The Technical Review Committee considered this request on December 9 and recommended approval. Actually, the TRC recommended a revision to require the 4 points of connection to the north, the south, and the east and the west. Previously, this ended in 2 cul-de-sacs. TRC requested that these connection stub roads, 4 connections, be added, and the applicant provided that at the planning board on December 20th. There were no members of the public other than a representative for the applicant present to address the board with regard to the request. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request, specifically with these 4 connections that were agreed to by the applicant at the meeting, and the suggested statement of plan consistency and reasonableness and the development conditions. There are a list of development conditions 1 through 6 that will apply. They are relatively standard for residential development. You have a motion to approve and a motion to deny. During the recess, I was approached by the representative for the applicant, Mr. Nick Reitmeyer with Joyner Keeney, because they have a proposed change to the design. So if we can switch to the document camera. And because of the size of the map, it's going to be difficult to see the whole thing at one time. But it is substantially the same. Of course, the planning department hasn't had a chance to fully review it, but it appears to be substantially the same, with the exception that the southern connection to the adjacent property has been turned back into a cul-de-sac. And so you have a stub road to the north, a stub road to the adjacent property here, stub road to the south, but no more stub road to this property, which I should point out is the same property as up here. It's just separated by the wetlands and the pond. This was evidently done at the request of the adjacent property owner. And so during the public hearing, Mr. Reitmeyer can tell you some more about that. and the justification for eliminating that stub road. Typically, the ordinance places the decision for stub road connections with the planning board. And in this case, when the planning board saw it, it recommended all 4 connections. So my recommendation would be to return this to the planning board for reconsideration. However, because this is a site plan attached to a rezoning, the board does have the power to make this change today if you feel confident in the design and the reasoning from the applicant. So the staff recommendation would be to return the design back to the planning board, but you certainly have the authority under your rezoning power to grant that change. And we can hear some more about that change from the applicant during the public hearing. And with that, I will take any questions on the staff report.
Questions of Mr. Tyson on this matter? All right. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, whose district this is in. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing. If there's anyone here wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, number 13, we'd be glad to have you come forward at this time and state your name and address for the record, and say what you have to say about it. Anyone here wishing to speak? Nick, I think we do need to hear from what the change is. If you would come forward, sir, I don't see any opposition. And I did not recognize you. You have developed another feature since I saw you last, sir.
I lost my razor.
You lost your razor.
Yep.
Okay.
Nick Reitmeyer with Joyner Keeney, 1051 North Winstead Avenue. As Adam mentioned, this has changed a little bit since it's been reviewed by the planning board. And it was as a result of a request by the adjacent property owner to have just one stub road to his property versus 2. Adam mentioned that there was a drainage feature separating the northern from the southern portion of this property, but the southern portion does have access to, I believe it's Cordially Church Road to the south. So our request is the conditions that were recommended by the planning board be modified to, as it is stated now, it specifically states 2 access points to the adjacent property to the east, and we would prefer it to say just 1.
Nick, I hear what you're saying, and to make it clear to the board, the adjacent property owner came to y'all and asked that one of them be eliminated?
That's correct, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tyson, is staff aware of that? Okay, did staff verify that?
I can't verify that.
You are aware of that?
I'm aware, I was made aware of it on maybe Friday of last week,
Okay.
or Thursday of last week.
Well, with your recommendation, it leaves the board in a little bit of a not comfortable situation, as you can imagine.
I would feel more comfortable eliminating it if we could hear maybe the justification from the adjacent property owner as to why they're not interested in having that connection.
Do you have any knowledge of that, Nick?
I don't have that information, I don't.
Okay. Well, as we play this out, if we listen to staff, you're gonna have a delay. Is the delay in your best interest, or is the owner in a big hurry to get this done? Because we don't want to delay you, but
right,
we generally don't like to go against staff either, even though the board could choose to do so.
I understand. Could I ask that if it were approved in the way that it's presented, that it could then, I guess you have the option of going back to the planning board and going back through the process again?
Correct. You could ask them to approve the currently proposed, the site plan that was approved by the planning board, and then you would have the opportunity to come back and request an amendment that would address the cul-de-sac versus the stub road, and of course, that would filter through the planning board and the TRC, just like a new request would. But you would have permission for the original design. We could secure that today.
Does it have to come back to this board again as well?
The amendment would.
Would? Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get on into the motions and see what the board chooses to do.
Right, yeah, our preference is one, but, yeah.
Your preference is like we're looking at it, but,
Our preference is to have it approved as modified.
okay,
But if that requires a delay, you would prefer to have the original approved today.
Correct.
And reserve the right to request an amendment later.
is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, okay. I mean, of course, I've known you long enough since you were a child that I believe what you're saying, but it just puts us in a bad shape not to have the adjoining property owner here stating that they did indeed do that. Because once we do it, we can't undo it.
Right.
So that's where it leaves us. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Wright?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you've got a stub road in the plan that was presented. And now you're asking that that would be changed to a roundabout, a cul-de-sac.
Right.
And if we approve it, we would approve it with the stub roads. And if that was approved, what would require you then to come back, other than you say you're going to do it, and do the cul-de-sac, which would be opposed to what the landowner has requested?
Well, if it were approved this way, our only option to develop it with the cul-de-sac would be to go back through the process.
But we're talking about approving it without the cul-de-sac, because the cul-de-sac is a change to the plan that was submitted.
Correct. Right.
So what would prevent you from just having the stub roads and not having the cul-de-sac? Other than you say you want the cul-de-sac.
Well,
Nothing.
no, there's nothing stopping us from, this isn't an unfeasible plan with the two connections.
All I'm saying is that if the landowner has requested a cul-de-sac, and the planning board has stated that they would like to go back to the planning board, come back with that plan for the cul-de-sac, I'm okay with the development of the area, but I think I want to have some assurance that it's going to meet the needs of the adjacent landowner. And I guess I need more than just, you saying that's going to happen.
Right.
The best way for that to happen is go back to the planning board and come back, it seems to me.
The only thing I could offer is, just pointing out that it does have access to the road to the south, Miss Cordiality Church.
Cordiality Church Road.
Right.
What his concern is, Nick, is if we go back to original plan, which is what my guess is this board is going to be potentially willing to approve today. We don't have a guarantee either way. We don't have a guarantee that we're going to see it again to put the cul-de-sac, which would satisfy the property owner. Is there some way, if we move to another item, that you could get in touch with the property owner and have them confirm that? Is that a possibility?
I believe so, with a phone call. I don't know how to present that, or,
If you're at liberty to reveal who the property owner is, which might be noted on the map, that might clarify for the board.
okay, right. Property owner is Niles Joyner.
Of Joyner Keeney.
Of Joyner Keeney.
Who is your employer?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, that does,
So you would assume that Joyner Keeney would not pursue a strategy that would be detrimental to the desires of the adjacent property owner unless required to do so through the board's approval.
why did you say you would recommend something different then, sir?
We recommend for
I know
full
what you
connectivity.
said.
Right.
I'm saying, why did you do that then? You
Right,
had that now.
right.
Mr. Chairman, it would seem like, since it's your employer, that you can get something in writing, an email requesting it from them. Just put it to the side for a few minutes, continue the agenda, and get something in writing to you and to Adam.
Well,
Okay, an email
we could-
possibly?
I mean, I think we could probably go forward if it's contingent upon receiving that information from the landowner,
Sure.
Okay,
and then I'm good with that.
right.
Wayne, that's who he actually works for.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
Okay, all right. All right, so we're gonna move on, and it may be continued upon you getting that in writing.
Okay, I'll work on that.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Wrightmeyer? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? The public hearing is now closed, and I hope no one has a question of Mr. Tyson. Any questions of Mr. Tyson? I can answer any questions. Sure. Any other questions of staff? I think we're good. I'd entertain a motion at this time to approve or deny this rezoning matter then.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to try to make a motion for approval of the conditional rezoning request, understanding that it's consistent with the recommendations of the Nash County Land Development Plan, and it meets developmental conditions for reasonableness. But I would like for it to have attached to that the fact that we will have, this is contingent upon receiving this information from the landowner supporting the change to the original sketch that was presented.
Which would make number 7 to this request. I think we have 6 already.
Correct.
All right. Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign?
I'm sure the clerk will
Motion.
wordsmith that to say what I wanted to say.
With Adam and Adams, attorney at law, I'm sure they will. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item number 14. Item number 14 is a public hearing, proposed sale of property and approval of the resolution for economic development purposes, and I'll turn it over to Andy Hagee at this time. You already been up, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, missed you that time. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir.
With the okay, I'd like to read a resolution for the sale of county property for the purpose of economic development.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Whereas the Local Development Act of 1925 authorizes counties to make appropriations and to convey and acquire interests in real property for the purpose of aiding and encouraging the location of manufacturing enterprises, and to assist in locating industrial and commercial plants in the county, which will, in the discretion of the governing body of the county, increase the population, taxable property, agricultural industries, and business prospects of the county. And whereas counties may acquire, construct, and convey shell buildings for the purpose of encouraging economic development as authorized by NCGS 158-7.1A, B, 4, and D. And whereas Nash County, here in county, has constructed a shell building in the industrial park known as the Middlesex Corporate Center. Whereas the county has entered into a contract to sell the shell building to First Wave Innovations, Inc., here in the company for $1,600,000. And the company has agreed to outfit the building with an investment of at least $10 million. And the company has agreed that it will create 25 new jobs by the end of 2022, paying an annual average of $50,000, which is above the average yearly wage in Nash County. And whereas the sale of the said shell building by Nash County will increase the taxable property and business prospects of the county. And whereas Nash County desires to authorize the sale and conveyance of said shell building to the company in accordance with the terms of North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1. And whereas a public hearing was held by the Nash County Board of Commissioners to further consider this sale. Be it now, therefore, resolved that the Nash County Commissioners approve the sales transaction of the following described property. Being of all Tract 1, consisting of 7.797 acres, more or less, as shown on that survey entitled Minor Subdivision Plat Property of Nash County, dated August 30, 2017, by James G. Strickland, Land Surveying, PA, and recorded in Map Book 41, page 89, Nash County Registry. The property was conveyed to Nash County by deed recorded in Book 2431, page 838, Nash County Registry. All the Nash County and the Nash County Board of Commissioners makes the following findings after hearing the presentation of Nash County Economic Development Director Andy Hagee. Nash County is hereby authorized to sell the described real property at the Middlesex Corporate Center in accordance with the terms of the purchase contract with the company and subject to the declaration of covenants, conditions, restrictions, and easements for Middlesex Corporate Center, recorded in Book 2857, page 129, Nash County Registry. 2, Nash County Commissioners hereby authorizes the chairman and clerk to execute the deed and related seller documents to convey the property to the company named herein in accordance with the terms of the purchase contract. 3, the commissioners do hereby find that the value of the consideration to be received by Nash County, including purchase price, projected ad valorem taxes, projected sales tax revenues, the creation of a substantial number of jobs that pay an above medium average wage in the county, and other miscellaneous revenue to be generated by the conveyance meets or exceeds the fair market value of the property to be conveyed to the company. The Nash County Board of Commissioners reserves the right to impose such additional or different covenants, conditions, and restrictions as it deems appropriate in its discretion. This would be adopted this 3rd day of January 2022 by the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Andy on this matter? Need any refresher on what this was? Everybody remember okay? Since we approved this resolution, we are done all we need to do legally?
As far as selling the property, yes.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be another public hearing about an inducement agreement at the next board meeting.
Okay, all right. But we're in good standings to approve this? Okay.
Yes.
Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Make a motion, we approve and adopt the resolution.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw, motion by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Resolution stands approved, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Don't we have to have a public hearing? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. Sorry, you were trying to tell me, aren't you?
My bad. Yes, sir, we do. Let's redact what I just did, and we will start with a motion to open a public hearing.
Motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Belfield, to have a public hearing on this matter. Open the public hearing. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? I apologize for that again to the board. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing on this matter, which is to approve the sale of our shell building in the Middlesex Industrial Park to a potential industry that's looking here. You've heard what the county gains from this. So if you're here to speak for or against it, we'd be glad to hear from you at this time. You come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move we close the public hearing.
Moved by Commissioner Belfield, second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Public hearing is now closed. I would again entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs. There's a second. Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. That resolution stands approved now in proper form. We now will move to item number 15, which is Community Development Block Grant Building Reuse First Wave Innovation Project Ordinance. I call on Finance Director Donna Wood.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Okay. Nash County has been awarded $400,000 for Building Reuse Program grant funds from North Carolina Department of Commerce, Rural Infrastructure Authority, and the Rural Economic Development Division. The project associated with this grant funding is First Wave Innovations Incorporated. The action requested from the board is to approve the grant project ordinance for the Building Reuse Grant Program.
Any questions of Ms. Wood on this? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That project ordinance stands approved. I think we have two more. Ms. Woods, go ahead.
The next project ordinance is for the debris removal project. This project ordinance amendment is presented for approval only to reflect an extension by the North Carolina Division of Soil and Water Conservation Program of the project deadline from December 31st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. This is to approve the amended grant project ordinance for the project extension.
This debris removal? Yes. Okay. All right, any questions of Ms. Wood? Seeing none, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Project ordinance stands approved. Item number 17.
Okay. The project ordinance amendment is presented to include additional state funding of $279,610 through the CARES Act and Center for Disease Control and Prevention to the Health Department to support COVID-19 vaccination activities with an expanded emphasis on eligible children and adolescents under 18 years of age and COVID-19 boosters. The action request is to approve the project ordinance amendment.
And this is new money from the
This-
CARES Act.
This is new money from CARES Act and Center for Disease
Okay.
for the Health Department.
So our previous deadlines start over for this, I guess.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Arrington. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed by a like sign? Ordinance stands approved as well. We're now on 1, 2, 3. We're on 18, which is budget amendments. Ms. Wood, you have the podium, so go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I have 7 amendments, budget amendments to present to the board for consideration for fiscal year '22. The first one is with the Department of Social Services. This amendment's presented to budget federal funds received for low-income energy assistance payments to provide assistance to low-income households to assist in the cost of heating expenses, and CARES Act funding to allow automated LEAP payments for specified pre-approved population. It's a total of $1,293,600. No county funds are required. The next item is with our Facilities Department. This amendment's presented to budget additional funding to cover the new custodial services contract to begin January 2022. Additional funding required is due primarily to the increased pricing of services and supplies. It's a request of $9,150. The next amendment is insurance proceeds for the sheriff's office. This budget amendments to budget insurance proceeds received for a 2019 sheriff's office Dodge Charger identified as totaled. These funds will be used to purchase a replacement vehicle, $29,157. The next item is with Parks and Recreation. This budget amendment is presented to budget sponsorship support collected to support winter sports of basketball and futsal, $6,336. No county funds are required. The next item is cooperative extension. This budget amendment is presented to budget funding from the DeLeon Carter Foundation to support the Nash County Farmers Market. These funds will be used for the purchase of a walk-in cooler. It's $2,000. No county funds are required. The next item is in the Federal Asset Forfeiture Fund. This amendment is presented to budget asset forfeiture revenue received to be used for training required for professional service, officer and public safety, and funding for case investigations. It's a request of $50,000. No county funds are required. The next item is with Central Nash Water and Sewer. This amendment is presented to budget revenue received from water connection fees to purchase and install additional taps. It's $15,000. No county funds are requested.
Okay, that is 7 amendments, as Ms. Wood said. Any questions on any of those from a board member?
Didn't we, for the central water system, we approved some change orders, didn't we, in our last monthly meeting?
We did on the northern Nash water system.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought we had closed out the central water.
You thought we closed it out?
We closed the district, but that water system, the water system that was in existence was basically the Central Nash water system. So in order to separate them for purposes of distinguishing the two, we now refer to it as the Central Nash water system and the Northern Nash water system. The district, you're correct, is closed out.
Construction.
The construction.
What this is, Mr. Belfield, looks like additional people have requested to be tapped onto that and paid their fees, and I guess this is the money that's coming in that Ms. Wood has to lot somewhere. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Boone is behind you, okay. Any other questions, Mr. Belfield?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right, other questions? I'm curious, Ms. Wood, on the cooler. It says it's a walk-in cooler. Are we putting a walk-in cooler at the farmer's market? And can we do that for $2,000, or does the other money come from somewhere else?
I will get back with the farmer's market on that one. I don't know if it's a real walk-in cooler or if it would be, I know we have the CSA boxes that we have in place, and they're looking to keep those cooled down. So I will follow up with the farmer's market on that.
It doesn't need to hold up anything. I just, the word walk-in, I haven't seen a walk-in. I didn't know you were putting one in there. Do you know, Mr. Belfield?
I don't see putting in a walk-in cooler with $2,000, so
Yeah.
I'm on
So
the
it may
Leon
be-
Carter board. They asked for money. That's all we had to give to them.
Oh,
It's
okay.
gonna cost more than that.
Okay,
We
thank you.
got to find the money somewhere else.
Right.
If-
All right, now you cleared it up. I forgot you were on that board. Thank you, sir. All right, entertain a motion to approve the 7.
move approve the budget.
Move for approval of 7 budget amendments.
Budget amendment.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Those stand approved. Thank you, ma'am. We're on item number 19, which is board appointments.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of any recommendations for alternate member number 3 for the Nash County Board of Adjustments.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I do have a recommendation, but I did get it late, to distribute it to the board. But I have one.
All right. Do you want to present it and let us, staff, decide if it meets the criteria? Any board member opposed to approving this if we deemed it sufficient?
Would you like for me to read it to you, or we can put it on next month's agenda?
It would be fine. You can do it next month.
Whatever the board wishes to do.
Well, what we're going to do between now and next month that's going to change what our thinking is today?
Probably nothing.
Then let's do it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. That's fine too with me.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about the individual.
The name is Oscar Bruce. Gentleman lives on Greenfield Drive in Rocky Mount. He is putting his application in for the Board of Adjustment. He says that he would like to be active in the community. He's an electrician by profession and trade, and also has a lot to offer. And he is applying through Commissioner Fred Belfield.
All right. Do you recall, I don't think we worry about districts too much of that. This is an alternate member anyway. All right, you have the information that you need. Entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Belfield, you want to make the motion?
Yes, I move approval of Oscar Bruce for alternate position 3
Okay,
on the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Gentleman stands approved. Thank you, Mr. Belfield, for bringing that name to us.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a point of order, I guess.
Please.
I see on the agenda, it says, or there isn't an appointment currently serving in District 6, and there is. Terry Williams was appointed, I believe, in November to represent District 6 on the Board of Adjustment, and he is still on it, to my knowledge.
I'll ask the manager to address that.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Wilkins, where are you seeing?
Under Nash County Board of Adjustment, it says, when considering new appointments, there will be no currently serving board members from Commission District Number 2 or District 6 for the Board of Adjustment. We appointed Terry Williams on the Board of Adjustment.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the same thing that you're seeing,
Okay.
so I will look into that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure you're not back a month, because mine doesn't say that either.
I don't, okay. I think I'm okay, but
What's that date on that memo you're reading?
January 3rd, 2021.
I thought it was January. I'll check.
Okay. Well, you get with the manager and see what we got there, but I think ours shows it just the one we just appointed. All right, we'll move now to item number 20, which is monthly tax report. Did I miss you again, Matt?
No, sir. I got it up right.
Okay, I missed you again.
That's okay.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon.
We want to protect our tax collector.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to present the monthly tax report. As you know, this report is designed to keep the board current on activities in the tax collector's office. It is for your information only and does not require approval. However, it is recommended that you accept the report so they will be noted in the minutes. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if anyone had any.
Questions on the tax report? Seeing none, the report is noted in the minutes, Madam Clerk. You have item 21 as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 21 is refund request, and we do not have any this month for consideration.
Okay, no refunds.
No refunds.
Is today the last day to pay your taxes on time?
No, sir. It will be January the 5th.
5th?
5th, yes.
Which is Thursday?
Thursday, I believe.
Thank goodness. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you before Thursday.
Okay.
It's Wednesday.
Is
Wednesday.
that Wednesday? Yeah, today's the 3rd, 4th, 5th Wednesday.
So you would have given me the Thursday though, wouldn't you?
The 6th, they're over, not.
No.
Yeah, on January the 6th, they're late,
All right.
and they'll have interest.
I'll be there before January 6th. Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you.
I actually thought it was the day reason I'm pushing so hard to get out of here.
Interest. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
All right, we're now under commissioners' reports, and be glad to hear from any commissioner that has anything they'd like to say on behalf of the Lord or the county. Comment? Please.
I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the Stony Creek Rescue Squad. They had made the decision to close their doors as of December 31st, 2021, and I'd just like to publicly thank them and all of their many volunteers and staff over the years for their service and dedication to Nash County. It was certainly bittersweet to hear Station 3 sign off of the county radio at 7 p.m. on December 31st. And I wanted to be certain to tell them, and as a representative of Nash County, to say thank you and job well done.
Look, we are going to officially do that a little bit later. I thank you for your words, of course, but for some reason I was asked to delay it. What we asked to do last month, I'm not sure why that was, but thank you for your comments, and we'll certainly do that whenever I get word to move forward with it from Mr. Rogers.
Well, what
Yes, sir.
business was she talking about? I didn't catch that.
She was talking about Stony Creek Rescue Squad, sir.
Oh.
Yeah, we had
yes.
talked about last month having some kind of official recognition for them, and we do intend to do that. But they did not want it done today. I'm not sure why, but we will be doing it. All right, other comments? Mr. Outlaw.
Just remind everyone that our mid-month is January the 18th. I think it starts at 1:30, and we're only going to have one presentation at this meeting, and that will be by the the DOT, local DOT reps. They're going to speak to the project around Nash Community College and on Eastern Avenue and Old Carriage Road. I would also mention that, and I'm sure the chairman's probably going to speak to this, so I probably shouldn't even do it, but
Please go ahead, sir.
I think our manager is going to be, our previous manager is going to be with us for this meeting. Is that correct, or is this your last meeting, sir?
That will be my last meeting.
So you will be with us on the 18th?
Right.
Okay, because I'd like to say some harsh words to you on the 18th. No, I'm just kidding, you know, I think the world of you. But I just want to make sure you would be with us on the 18th.
Yes.
So just remember, we only got one presentation on the 18th, and I think we're going to have the stakeholders in that area available, hopefully, at this meeting. Thank you.
All right. Other comment? Just a couple of things right quick. Housing report, of course, normally December is a month in which permits for new homes fall off somewhat. That didn't do it near the degree it has done in years past. We actually had 41 additional new permits in the month of December, and it was 20 different builders that submitted for those permits, and quite frankly, they were dispersed very well throughout the county. Dan and Sue, a lot of them were back up northern area this month. I don't know why it switches back and forth so much, but the majority are the address back up this month, this time, whereas they have been down there quite a bit. But there's still 41 new permits, which I think is great that it continues to grow. If you would notice, Senator Barnes will be with us this morning and discuss with us just a little bit about the new Senate Bill 473. She actually called me last night and said that she wouldn't be able to be here, that she wasn't feeling well. That's all she knew at that point in time, and she didn't want to come without having checked herself out, but she does intend to come, Mr. Outlaw, for a brief comment on our next meeting about that bill. But the short and the long of it is, at your table today, I laid a list of nonprofits that the county does contribute funds to, just to prompt you to look at that list good. It is a wide range of them, many of them being governmental in nature, and If it's strictly a nonprofit, which is the ones that are at the top, came directly out of our financial, or our budget for this year, showing where we did contribute money. There was one on there that I served on the board, and as you saw, I think I copied everybody. I asked for permission to stay on that board, and the attorney, or I asked, did I need to drop off the board, which I really did not want to. The attorney advised me that I should, so I did resign effective 31st of December from that board to keep us in compliance with the new rule. I do want the board to look real carefully at this list, and if you serve on some, I do know of a couple of you that serve on some of these boards that will, it looks like, need to resign, but what I'm going to ask you to do is look at the whole list, get in touch with Mr. Durham, and let him make the rulings whether you can stay on there or not. Fred, I think you have one. Marvin, you have one. But what I don't want us to do is have a member continue to serve and get nailed for it later, because we want to follow the new statute. It was a statute that had been worked on very hard, and I really did hate to get off the one I got off of, Christian Fellowship Home, but it was the right thing to do in accordance with us. I know Wayne has already asked about one of his, I believe, Wayne, which was community college, and there's some clause in there that allows you to serve in that capacity, so there's some ifs in there you can, and there's some ifs when you can't. And rather than us try to take up time today deciding, if you just contact Mr. Durham if you got any questions about it all. But the effective date on most of them was the 31st of December.
Well, that's when the law goes into effect January 1.
January the 1, right. So,
And the law doesn't say you can't serve on the board, but it says you can't make appropriations to them or enter into contracts with them.
Okay.
And if you can't make appropriations to them, that means you will not be able to vote on the budget, the Nash County budget. And that is an important factor in serving as a Nash County commissioner. So that's why, in my opinion, it was better that we not serve on those boards. Now, the board, counties and cities are looking at it different ways. Some may start budgeting at a different time than in their budget, but I think that's going around your elbow and sort of bending the rules. I think it's better that we differentiate between our nonprofit work and our county appropriations.
well, we do want us to be crystal clear that we are doing what is correct. Mr. Lamb, do you want to say something?
I know one board that I serve on, of course, the commissioners didn't put me on that board, but we do fund it.
Right.
And where it's operated, when they're voting on issues related to those specific funds that Nash County put in, I step out of the room and don't vote. And that's the way they handle it. I'm not the only one that has to step out of the room. But we don't vote on those issues if we are serving on that board where the funds are appropriated specifically for a particular matter that would be kind of like what they call a conflict of interest.
I think your problem's going to be on the other side now, though, Mr. Belfield, is the fact that you vote to allot the funds. But again, I'm going to ask you to take it up with the attorney.
Yeah, well,
Discuss him about it.
well, that was one that that particular one, the commissioners didn't put me on that, but
Well, I don't think that matters, because they didn't put me on one either.
I can easily step off of it.
Right. We'll take it up with Mr. Durham prior to making that decision, but I think you need to address it pretty quickly.
If it's a governmental entity or something created by the state or the county, you can continue serving.
Right.
But if it's just your basic run-of-the-mill, I don't mean that to sound ugly, a normal nonprofit organization, it creates problems now, beginning January 1.
And he's speaking of Uniting Christ Ministries Board, I believe is what you're addressing.
Mr. Chairman, I would concur with the county attorney that the cleanest way to do it is his approach. What I anticipate some counties and cities doing is what I used to serve on the Governor's Crime Commission, and if you served on the Governor's Crime Commission, when you voted to appropriate funds, any matter, you would declare at the time of the general vote that I am not voting on the following appropriations, which could be governmental or nonprofit, but you would continue to vote. So I suspect that that will be a way that some counties and cities will get around having to resign simply by declaring they're not voting on that particular line item in the budget.
In discussing that with one of the authors of the bill, that's not the intent of the bill, as I understand it, but she'll come later if there's any question about that.
Good.
And go through that. She asked to do that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, I have talked to Vince about Nash Community College, and I've got assurance that that is not a conflict. But what I do is when the budget comes before the body, I always recuse myself. And the reason I do that is because that budget is approved by that body before it ever comes to this body for consideration. And when it comes before this body, looking at the total picture, I may not be in agreement with spending that much money there, so I always recuse myself.
When you voted on the community college budget?
Community college.
Right, yes.
And that's the reason I do that.
Sure. Any other comments about that particular item? And I just bring it here today just so we'll get on top of it because the date has now passed. And that's all I had, so I will turn it over for the manager's report.
Thank you.
That's where I thought it was going. I want to make sure. And we'll follow up with the past manager report if you have something to say. Go ahead, Stacey.
Sounds good. Well, the first thing I have to report, things keep coming into me via the cell phone, but this is pretty disturbing information from our public health director, Mr. Hill, about the number of new cases that we're experiencing here in Nash County. And if you've been following the weekly COVID calls, you know that we have increased by 100 and 200, and last week our number was 373 cases. Unfortunately, this morning the public health director is informing us that they are being overwhelmed with new cases. And if you're not sitting down, please do, because we are up 300% at 1,244 new cases. And of course, that is still counting because we report on Tuesday afternoon, and it is not yet Tuesday afternoon. So please know that we are in a very dire situation, not just in our country, but in our county. And hopefully our citizens will continue to do what they need to do to protect themselves. I did find it personally disturbing. Last week, we learned that there were 25 hospitalizations, and Mr. Hill did not have the number for us on our phone call about how many of those were fully vaccinated, and I understand that we are coming up with new definitions of fully vaccinated now. Fully vaccinated used to be first dose and second dose, and now I'm understanding that fully vaccinated is being defined as also having your booster. But last week with 25 hospitalizations, 7 of those had their first and second vaccines. So that was particularly disturbing to myself. But I did want to report that information to you this morning. Just moving forward in my new role, and thank you, Chairman Davis, for recognizing me this morning at the beginning of the meeting. I did want to let you know that I have gone to the town of Castalia for their board meeting on December the 7th, and I'm currently scheduled to visit with Middlesex, Bailey, and Red Oak for their board meetings. Middlesex and Red Oak for their January meeting, and Bailey right now for their February meeting. So I'll keep you up to date on my visits to our local towns and municipalities. QVC, as you received an email from me last week, an update on the resources that Nash County provided to help out with QVC in Edgecombe County. Mr. Rogers is looking into our local fire departments and the resources that they used and their financial impact because of participating in helping out with QVC, and we will give you an update on that information as we receive that information. Thomas Gillespie, our Parks and Recreation Director, could not be with us today, but I did want to let you know that he attended the 2021 NCRPA Athletic Directors Workshop in Wilmington on December the 6th through the 8th, and at that workshop, Thomas was awarded the 2019 Outstanding Young Professional Award and the 2021 Meritorious, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but Service Award. And we all know the good work that Thomas does for us locally, and it's just nice to see him being recognized by his peers. So the next time you have an opportunity to give Thomas a pat on the back, please do. Due to the COVID numbers spiking, actually due to the anticipated COVID numbers spiking, I had conversations with Mr. Hill more like 2 weeks ago about our management team retreat. We had a management team retreat scheduled for this week, January the 6th and 7th, and currently we are postponing those plans to bring our management team together to discuss a number of topics. We had a full agenda planned for 2 days, and we hope to be able to do that in the spring and bring that leadership training to our management team. And not only will our manager, Z Lamb, be with us at our January 18th meeting, but please remember that an hour before that meeting starts at 12:30, we will be doing a reception for him out in the large hallway. I do have an invitation ready for that, and so you will be receiving an invitation to that event. And I welcome any thoughts or ideas that you have to who we need to get that invitation out to so that we can invite the masses to come help us celebrate Mr. Lamb and his service here in Nash County. And let's see, Mr. Davis, you talked about the new bill. Thank you for doing that. And we need to talk about a rescheduled date for the next land use plan meeting. Mr. Tyson is offering up Thursday, January the 13th, or Thursday, January the 20th. To the three commissioners that sit on that committee. If you could take a look at your calendars. Again, that meeting is from 4 to 6 p.m., either Thursday, January the 13th, or Thursday, January the 20th, if you could let us know what works for you.
So you were gone that whole week, were you not? So the 13th won't work.
That's correct. 20th is,
20th is okay?
yes, sir.
Marvin, 20th work for you? 20th? Do you go to the planning board now, or you already got these dates cleared?
I'll go to the chairman.
Of the planning board? You had to.
Assuming it works for him, I'll announce it in an email.
Okay, all right. And still be 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
Okay. 4 until.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, all I've got is to highlight for the public something that was on the agenda that Ms. Wood did a budget amendment on the debris cleaning. I can't stress enough to y'all and to the public how that represents, I'd say we've done a better job of getting that money and cleaning out Stony Creek, Tar River, other creeks than any county that I'm aware of, and it's because a citizen in our community contacted Mr. Outlaw about debris in Stony Creek, I think it was.
Yes.
And we talked to Soil and Water. We found out there was some money out there, And you can see we've gotten quite a bit of money from the state. It may come from the federal treasury too, I'm not sure. But, and I think it's 800 and some $1,000 we've gotten. And it's just, it exemplifies when you get citizens and elected officials and departments together to get something done. And I just, every time I see that on the agenda as far as a budget amendment, it just, I feel like I got to comment on it because it really is something that was drastically needed, hadn't been done since Floyd. They found refrigerators and all kinds of stuff in these streams, and now they're largely cleaned out. And again, it's the way government should work. So I just wanted to point that out. That's all I have.
So the new manager will be sure we get the innovative award that the association gives out each year at the next association meeting for that particular item. Sounds like a good candidate to me, if indeed we can have a annual meeting this year, which I certainly hope we can. Anything else from commissioners? If not, is lunch here? Okay. We do have lunch in the back. We will come back to this room and eat, I think, after that brief report that we had there. And so we'll take about a 15, 20-minute pause to do that, and then we'll go into a closed session. Closed session is for economic development and matters of attorney-client privilege, some updates on some lawsuits. And so at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session right after the brief recess that we have.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Arrington first, I think. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? We stand moving into closed session. There were no action taken in closed session that will require a vote in open session. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting for January the 3rd. Moved by Commissioner Leggett, excuse me. A second to that motion?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Outlaw Wilkins at the same time. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? We stand adjourned.